Dun 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 dun. There we
Get a
go.
grip, Randall. Get a grip.
That is the way I get a grip. I have to play with the
Yeah.
toys. It's the only way to make a sense out of everything. So there we are. Hi, Simon. Good to see
Did
you.
you miss us? Did you miss us?
Yeah. Yeah, you guys were like off in some foreign land. Well, not foreign for you, but no, wait, I guess it was foreign for you.
It's foreign for me, yeah, not foreign for you, yeah.
I think of the East Coast as being like way over there, like practically London. I mean, you could drive from there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. See, so it's that big long transatlantic bridge that they put up. Yeah, just
just hold me breath and walk there.
yeah,
Right.
walk across the Atlantic.
We
That's
used to be able to
great.
do that, right? Was it like
No, it was the one
is
across from
is it
Alaska.
Russia to like Alaska or whatever it is?
Russia,
And
Alaska was
right?
a land bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a land bridge for a while. That's how they figured that the Native Americans actually migrated from Asian areas. Yeah, originally. So
Right.
I guess all the genetics sort of prove that. Hey, we just got somebody who posted a question and it has 2/16. Please tell me you're not doing a 16-part question here. That is not appropriate. We did not handle questions
If
that
you
are
do
that
have a long
above.
question, you can
Yeah.
always post it in a gist and put the gist hash in the chat.
Yeah.
Just saying. Right, let's go with the do's and don'ts, and then we can then get on with the show. Here, Randall,
Okay.
it's all yours today.
I know. I'm virtual Scott today, which we will describe in a minute. So be nice, be respectful, be constructive, and help each other out. This is a fun time for everybody, and we all want to kind of be cool with each other. Don't post anything if it's adult or rude or offensive. Don't advertise or promote anything. The only people that are allowed to promote things on this show are people that have their face on camera. So unless your face is on the camera, you don't get to promote stuff. I do. Simon does, but that's about it. All right. Harassment of any kind is not tolerated. We do have band hammers. We do use them, but do have a good time. We're having a good time doing this show, or we wouldn't keep doing it month after month, year after year. And or maybe we just don't have anything else to do, so we're just doing this. No, we actually enjoy what we're doing here, or we wouldn't keep doing it. Yeah. So that was it, right?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah,
it goes fast.
My name's Sam Lightfoot, Flutter Community Lead, and CTO at Devon, London. Randall, please introduce yourself.
I am Randall Schwartz. I am a 45-year veteran of the computer industry. So I wrote my first code for hire back in 1977. I've had so many hats I could open a haberdashery. So, but recently, what I've been doing mostly is Dart and Flutter coding and development. And also, I for the last 6 years have been a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert, which is one of 10 in the US, one of about 100 in the world, which just means that Google has spent a lot of time making sure that I'm saying things that are fairly accurate. And and also means I spend a lot of time answering all y'all's questions in places like Discord and Slack and things like that. For this show, I am the question magician, which means that I am watching the chat, the live chat that we have going on with this show. For those of you on YouTube, and what's the other place we're showing this? Is it TikTok? Twitch on Twitch. And so I'm watching that. I'm looking for Q colon at the beginning of a line, and that means it's a question to us on the panel, and I flag that specially so that we come back to those. If you don't put Q in front of it, we consider it just conversation amongst yourselves, which happens a lot too. So that's why we have to have the special denotation for people that want to ask us questions. So that's me and me.
And we have a few more regulars coming on the show.
Yeah.
Please.
Hey,
Daniel, please introduce yourself.
Oh, yep, I'm Daniel Cox. And anyway, I work for a company called Ardley. I'm also the organizer of the Flutteristas, one of the organizers, which we are a group of female and non-binary Flutter enthusiasts. So if you have any interest in that or know anybody that might, hit me up and we can work on helping that out. So thank you all for that. And I did think we should. I mean, do we need to now add a seventh part to our rules of questions?
Yeah, don't play us parts. And also, Simon didn't mention this, but he usually does. Is you can't post any URLs either. If you
That's
post a
true.
URL, we don't even see it, so we can't even tell you're doing the wrong thing. And I bet part one, since we never saw part one of the 16, was a URL. So because we didn't see it.
And by the way, he has come back. I mean, we're having some fun here at Johan's expense a little bit, but
Okay.
he said the question really is only 2 parts.
Oh, okay,
So-
good. That's
a lot
manageable. That's manageable.
Yeah.
We can definitely do that. All right, so we're just gonna wait for him to ask the 2 parts. Yes.
And if you want to post some code and have us look at it, go to gist.github.com, and then once you've done, copy the hash. That's the hexadecimal long number at the end of the euro. Once you've posted gist, pop that in the chat, and we can then go look that up and help you out.
Yeah.
We also have John. John, welcome to the show. Oh, you muted.
Yes, sorry. I was doing stuff. I didn't want you to pull me in while I was doing stuff. How's it going?
Good.
Good.
Thanks.
So, yeah. John Weezy, I manage the Flutter community Medium site and all the articles there. I hang out in Discord and other random places occasionally answering questions and build some of my own Flutter stuff in my spare time.
Cool.
So
Well,
I was going to say I am going to bring my camera down a little more better for my face, so I'm more in the middle of the screen. But I do want to point out that now I do have a revenue cat up there, and I got it exactly the same way I got the fox from Flutterflow. Simon might remember this, that Vadim had the fox and didn't have room in his suitcase for it. And so he'd come back and said, "Do you want it?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Great, I don't have room for it." And we get there, and Rona comes up to, or Rona's sitting next to me for the keynote, and she had just won a revenue cat. And I'm like, "Oh, I need to get one of those." And she's like, "Do you want this one?" I don't have room in my suitcase. So exactly the same way I was able to get that. So anyway.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool. Conference fallout.
So so for those that don't know, what we're talking about is FlutterCon USA that took place last week. So several of us were in New York City and at the conference. So was many members of the Flutter team. So you missed out, but next year it'll be back. Don't know if it's been the same place. We'll see. But we'll be doing it again next year alongside
West Coast, please.
Well, no, I think New York City is New York City, right? I mean, it just may not be the same venue in New York City, right?
Yeah, I don't think they moved the conference out in New York.
It'll still be New York. Sadly, the West Coast Flutter pickup is even less than the East Coast. So it just doesn't make sense to put it out there. So you're gonna have to fly, Randall.
Yeah.
I do have to say it was amazing to go to a conference where I didn't have to change time zones. That was really nice. That was good.
It was great for you guys, bad for me. coming back. It was like it's a 7-hour flight, and then another like 6-hour time difference. So it's basically we left at like 1:30 a.m. and arrived at like 1:30 p.m. It's like
wow.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Or you do the other direction, and you arrive before you left because of the time zone changes. That's another thing that's funny when that happens as well.
Try flying West Coast to Australia, where you actually also lose a day too. It's really weird. The math there is weird.
It's kind of funny because I kind of like the idea that all of your like tickets and all of the stuff is always in local time, right?
Right.
Which means it just makes it so much easier to understand like everything, and just don't see that. I don't think there's any other reasons why any other situation I can think of where you would actually want to do that. Because if you're looking at data and what all to do with like what you're looking at, you normally want in one time zone, right? It's not very often you want to actually view data in 2 different time zones. I'm not going to go to time zones, Randall. All right, moving on.
Yeah, you keep saying that magic word. I'm going to start springing into all sorts of stories about time zones. I'll just do one thing though. DST is evil. We need to get rid of DST. Please, 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 please. Let's get rid of it.
That's daylight saving time.
Not only is he going to start talking about time zones, he's probably going to talk about how we need Riverpod to solve them.
No, actually, no. There's this package time zone to use if you're in Dart and Flutter. That's definitely appropriate.
The keynote was definitely awesome.
Absolutely,
and the second day keynote as well with
David Dermer. Yeah.
I think did I do pretty good introducing the conference? I think I did.
Do we have any clue what the next conference will be? Do we have any clue what's next?
In terms of conference? Yeah. I mean, there's tons of stuff going on. The next one for me will be DroidCon London, which will happen 31st October and 1st November.
Okay, well, that's true. Good. Okay, yeah.
In fact, yeah, John, you've been to DroidCon London, haven't you?
I have.
Nice venue. It's a big venue.
Yeah, it's a nice place that they put that in. Yeah, and Flutter being part of that now is awesome.
I think we should. Did we say that last week that we're going to code something? I can't remember.
We didn't have a last week, right?
No, the week, week before.
2 weeks ago.
Last show.
No, it was 3 weeks ago, wasn't it?
No, there was one 2 weeks because we did code. You started coding. What was it? It was it was something with loading. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was like the grid view, something with the grid view and how they were being laid out. I think it was the auto.
Okay, yeah. It was some layout. Like how'd you do like custom layouts with like grid views?
Yeah, because I think it was the sizing, right? It was when it's sized, it would auto resize to fit, not just say 3 columns and you got a border over here because there's space, but actually resize the items as well. Yeah, Max type grid view. Yeah,
I'm looking at my little list here that I keep for examples, and we had
a couple from the week before.
How to preserve widget states in Flutter when navigating using a bottom navigation bar using Go Route with shell route. Was that came out? How do we make a server with an endpoint to download a file with the ability to pause and resume the download? Any best practices, good articles, special headers to use? I thought that was an interesting one. And create a custom scroll view that loads more data as I scroll down. But instead of adding small widgets like list tiles, I want to load a completely new screen. I think that was like the idea of having like a TikTok style thing, right?
Yeah.
Which is actually effectively the same thing. Interesting enough, so there's things that come up in that kind of idea of scrolling, right? So if you've got content you're loading again, you're like a good example. I will use TikTok. I've never actually used TikTok. I've used YouTube Shorts. I understand the principles. But there's this notion that as you're scrolling through content, as you're consuming content, you never want it to be showing that you're loading the content, right? So there's a pacing that you do where you work out how fast the user is consuming the content, and then you know how far, and then you also know the latency in that it takes you to download said content and cache it, and then you can use those two numbers to know how far ahead in time you need to be downloading content, right? Like how many elements in front. So if they're consuming, say, one screen a minute or one screen every 10 minutes on average, then you know, okay, I should be, if it takes me three minutes to download something, then I need to be doing 5 minutes of content. I need to be downloading five minutes ahead of when they're going to need it, right? And you can do that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of thing that you do. It's not like just scroll and when it comes on screen, I should load more, right? Like if you really want to do like the perfect user experience, it's that kind of level of detail you have to go through. Also things like tracking velocity of scrolling as well is another thing, right? Yeah. So you can actually make sure that your as a user speeds up their consumption, that they you again load more. So what you actually do you don't do more requests, you do a larger request. You say, I'm going to get 25 items instead of 10 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Right.
I do find the science and engineering behind those kinds of thoughts to be very fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, it's also one of the things where it's hard to visualize until you're actually doing it, right? Like when you're having especially when it's like about touch user interaction. And the best way you can do that is just to sort of model it and mock it up with some like silly little widgets and just understand the principles and the I mean, again, this covers most things, right? So most people try and, or most developers will try and implement something in the current application. Well, you're better off doing a spike or whatever you want to call it, basically a mock application, a test thing that is completely devoid of any of the other content you're dealing with. Mock up your concept, understand the problem space involved, and then redo that in such application with all the information you've now learned from that. You know, it's quite
just doing that
really
last
powerful. There you go. It's really super powerful because you're not dealing with bugs or working around code that you existingly have or anything like that. You just throw it in, doesn't matter. Understand the problem space, what's going wrong, how do you do it, and then you can then implement that in your application. Super powerful concept.
Well, and it also, if you fail at it and you decide this is not how I want to do it, you haven't touched your existing code. You know, I mean, there's lots of reasons for that.
Yep.
I'm interested to know if anyone in the audience has done that kind of thing and what their experiences are. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm wondering if we're getting trolled a little bit because we've said that a 16-part question is too long. And a 2-part question is okay.
Yeah, we have a 3-part question.
The next thing is a 3-part question.
I may have already answered it in the chat, though, so it's possible that it's just going to go away when we get down there.
No, it's fine. I'm just
great.
enjoying the fact that our people try to test us there. You know.
Yeah, it just what I need this early in the morning. But yeah, okay, sure. The caffeine, in theory, is mostly kicked in, so we'll see. Shall we take questions, Simon, or shall we?
We can start on questions. Yeah, why not?
Well, we have 5 questions, including 1 3-parter. So it's kind of the way we're starting this day.
And based on what we get through, we can then sort of maybe jump on with some live coding as well.
Sure. Okay. So first one we have here is how to quick fix the Android settings. When a new settings maybe. When a new update comes out, I have an old project problem in Flutter build APK command which fixes Android, Kotlin, and grade.
Yeah, that'd be nice if it existed.
So there is a migration guide. Follow the migration guide. Understand. Load the Android directory up in Android Studio, and you'll see the errors. You'll see how you fix them. It will make it. There is, in fact, if you do load your project in Android Studio, there's a quick fix panel that pops up at the bottom that you can actually do like update my Gradle, and it will migrate your Gradle scripts for you
when it works.
But if
it works,
when it works, yeah. But to be honest, it's probably just easier just to follow the guide and understand. And sadly, this is the thing. We spoke about this. I think it was Daniel. We spoke about it as well at the conference, or at least before. And that is, sadly, as a Flutter developer, you're doing multi-platform. You're going to need to know a bit about each platform, at least a little enough to get by on these kind of things, like building applications, the splash screens, the icons, like the basic stuff. You don't need to put all this UI in the application because that's done by Flutter. But there's certain things you're going to know, and you're better off not having it. To be honest, if I'm honest, you're better off not having a quick fix and learning how Gradle files are formatted, what they are, how they work. You know,
and also if your change is pretty trivial that you had to make things work, then maybe sometimes ditching your entire Gradle and regenerating it and then add your fix back in might be a good way to do it.
So what you're suggesting there is something that we've suggested many times before, which is you can delete your ad. So if your project's checked into Git, only if it's checked into Git.
Yep.
Delete the Android folder, and then do Flutter create dot with -- platform Android, and it will recreate the Android folder with the latest Flutter. You do it with the latest Flutter SDK, and it will recreate all the latest build scripts and everything else. Then if you look at your change set for Git, you can then bring your icons back in and maybe bring a couple of the configuration lines back in to make it work and be what you want.
And to be clear there, it will work at first if you don't have it in Git, but then you're going to be sadly disappointed when you go try to pull the stuff back in.
Yeah.
It'll let you delete it, no problem.
Yeah. I was going to say, there's also just be careful you don't mess up. Like, so you might generate if you don't. I think it reads the package name from the one that's existing, but yeah, you might be generating like a different main if you have a different package.
It reads it from the folder name, which means if
no,
I see
mean
this
the
happen-
Android. Sorry, I mean the Android package name, which is like com.example.
Yeah.
Example, I
Yeah.
think is the default.
Oh
And
yeah.
what you don't want to do is if your application is like I don't know com.flutter.mybestapp or whatever, then it's going to be replaced with com.example.example, which you obviously don't want.
Right.
So, but here's the thing: if you mess it up, it doesn't matter because it's in Git, so you can just do reset, back one, discard all your changes, and just you're fine. So,
but you might find that to be a little quicker than. I mean, first off, I highly recommend understand what's going on, be able to do it. I hate Gradle. I try not to understand anything about Gradle, so that's why my brain would jump to how can I do this without necessarily having to figure it out again. But yeah.
One of the things I found useful to do is to as soon as I've created the initial Android folder, I make sure I do a commit there when I first done the project, and then I tag that as original folders so that I can do a diff on the Android directory as it currently is in Git, and then figure out my local customizations just from that set of differences. And that's pretty nice to be able to use Git to track things that you have customized, because you won't remember them all. That's the problem.
No, you won't.
Yeah.
And
it's so much easier to commit that. Yeah.
And it may be a while before you remember it. That can be the problem,
Yeah.
If it fails, there's something I must have forgotten. Let's try and figure it out.
Oh, yeah. I also changed the icon. Yeah, I changed the icon. I forgot to do that again.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. Anyway.
All
Enough on that. Oh, I guess I'm driving this, aren't I? I'm driving this. It's me. It's not moving on yet. Okay, here we go. Sorry. What would be the best way to create a custom loading indicator? A semicircle with segments of different colors, similar to the Experian score dial. Custom Painter. Yeah, Custom Painter can do everything. So sure.
Yeah. And you might even want to look. There's packages that have. I think
exactly. I was going to say that might be a nice little example we could code up.
Sure.
Just explain, because a lot of people don't know how you do canvas and custom painting, and like that's like a nice little something we could maybe do.
Yeah,
we can clear it.
I barely use Painter for anything, but I do it when I need to. But even then, my junior guy that works for me, he later just says, "I love it how comfortable at making stuff with Painter you are." And I'm thinking, thank you, but the reality is, it's math, so you kind of figure out the math a lot of times. It's not hard. There are examples, so and again, just remember that if there's a package for it, and you don't want that whole package, or you want to just maybe get a head start, go look and see how they did it. And sometimes that's enough to get you in the right direction. Then you can go make what you want. Yeah. But you got an idea of where to start with it. So.
Yeah. All right.
I've made a record of that. We'll see.
Yeah. The other thing, and we can probably talk about this while you're doing the custom painter thing, but I find that people really need to review the protocols of things like point and rectangle and align, because there's a lot of tools in there that make it much easier to not have to think about X times this plus Y times that make it sine and cosine. Sorry.
Who was I talking to? I was talking to someone at the Flutter team. It might have been at FlutterCon, one of the conferences I've been to, one of the many conferences.
Yeah, it's blurring together now.
It's blurring together. I had a PSA around this, because it's like, the problem is that Flutter uses its own like offset. Then you've got point. Then you've got a vector 2, and they're all not compatible. And then there's like a couple there's like several different versions of the same conceptual concepts, and none of them are compatible and work with each other. And I'm like, what we need is one set of, because they're Dart. They don't need to be in Flutter, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just they're math.
But part of them are the ones in the painting library are only in Flutter.
But that's my point. So what we need to do is migrate it out What I'm saying, once we migrate them out so that you can then use them in other things and have the same conceptual pieces.
Yeah.
And then if you need to have specifics for Flutter, do them as extensions inside Flutter on those base classes, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's
But
that is. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, but the nice thing about once you understand the protocols that are available to you, I don't have to remember which one is sine and which one is cosine. I just say, give me a point that has this angle and this offset, and I'm done. And it's much easier once you understand all these protocols. So yeah.
But I was going to say, related to what Simon was talking about, I do feel like I think that's where, like, for example, the different Dart on the server kind of things are helping us out. Is I think that we're going to take a lot of these things that were in Flutter because they were, Flutter's the one that wanted them and needed them, but now they've got a wider audience. I think we're going to be taking several of these things that we've had that have been Flutter and trying to move them into. I've been part of some conversations talking about that where we're trying to move some stuff out of Flutter into Dart if it makes sense.
Well, like compute ended up being isolate run now, so you can use it from the Dart side as well as the Flutter side. That's really nice.
Yeah, and so I do think they have a tendency to look for stuff like that, and if that's the case, then we've got the ability to then, but also that gives us the ability to use these same kinds of things in Dart without Flutter, but it also would hopefully get us to where we've got one version of something if we can get away with one version of something.
I'd like to see all the rendering stuff moved out into a library that I could suck in on Dart so I could build canvases and manipulate images and everything at a Dart level, which we can't do right now because the image stuff's all tied to Flutter and all that stuff is tied to Flutter.
This is another thing, like you've got image libraries, and they're all doing their own various different things. It's like if you had if you had Canvas as a protocol, as an interface that is externally, and then you have an implementation that is Flutter specific. When you run in Flutter, that makes sense to me, right? We need to think about these things.
Definitely. Just a second to get a text. All right, on to the next thing. This is a two-parter, but they didn't put part 1 of 2 on the first question, so I was a little curious about what this meant. I am running a local database using Maria, and I have a Flutter app ready with all the needed screens. This is already scary. I can already see without even going to the second part. He's going to want to talk directly to Maria from his Flutter app, and he's going to want to put that on the internet. You watch. Is it possible to just use only Flutter to render this information by DB, or do I need like an API? You need an API.
So I'm going to say, Solomon, you should use an API. You don't need to use an API, right? There's the wording here, right? Yeah. The point here is you'd be stupid not to. That's what we're saying, right?
You don't need to wear seat belts.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to wear a seatbelt, but you do wear a seatbelt when you're in a car because someone else might, I think this is a very similar approach, right? Hang on. Let me just running a local database. Local. This might be different. Hang on. This might be a different situation. So you need to clarify some points. Is this a desktop application? So here's the thing. Even if it's let's say it's a mobile application, you'd be pretty bad to do this, but whatever. The point here is you could be running a local instance of MariaDB with your local database, and then you can connect straight from your Flutter app to the database because you're running on the same device. It's the same application. There's not multiple code bases. Like if it's a code involved, that would be a perfectly fine use. You wouldn't need an API, right? There is ways though that you can actually make some more effective desktop applications, and so a lot of desktop applications are headless, right? What I mean by that is you have an API that runs locally on a local port, and then you have your UI use that. So it's the same environment that would be if it was server-based, but you're running it locally. And this gives you flexibility because it means you can have things like a CLI application that also consumes and uses the local libraries and services that are available through your little local service. You can do things run things in the background because your local service is always running. There's having that separation between UI and your backend is still important for a desktop application. If you're going across the internet, don't connect directly to a database. That's just bad. No, don't do this. So first of all, yeah, you're just asking for trouble in multiple ways. Anything from you guys on that point? So I will kind of just like slammed into that one.
I mean, I'm agreeing with what you're saying. I mean, it just, especially, I wasn't even considering like if he's like talking back to a MariaDB that's not local. I mean, that just, I for one, I would never dream that I could figure out all the security issues there might be to try to make something like that work. I mean, that's just scary overall. Plus, if you're setting it up like that, go ahead.
Go on.
I was going to say also, if you're setting something up like that, I would want to set it up in such a way that I could use it on my next project if I wanted to also. Yeah, and that's much better if you can create an API with your own contract with it. You're able to talk to that, and that way, you could do that, or you could even hand it off to someone else to use, to get if you wanted to. So I mean, the API is just, even though it may feel like it's maybe a little bit more work setting it up originally, it's just gonna be a lot more consistent. It's gonna be a lot easier to make, to make different changes with it later, to maintain stuff, version it, whatever.
And the big thing here, go ahead, Simon.
No, because on that point, you mentioned, I think there's this thing, right? When you're you see this like API, and I could just go from here to here. Why do I have to do all this work in between? Especially when it doesn't actually give you any value. And it does give you value, but you're not seeing the value. The value is in the long-term use of your application. When you have an API, what you're doing is you're making an interface, right? And this means that you've got a steady state example of how things can be communicated between two different parts of your product, just like you would do as if you had two classes and an interface to communicate with them and different implementations. This means that when it comes to the back end, it has a contract, which is this interface. And this means that even if you change the code, let's say, I give an example here. You said about communicating directly with the database, Solomon. You change the format of a table, you change the columns in the table, right? Now what happens is you have an application trying to read that data, but it's been migrated, but the application hasn't been updated yet. It can't read the data in the database. However, if you have an API, then now what you do is in that API, you're sending a header with your version of your application. When it's received by the server, it goes, oh, this is asking for this, making a request for this data, and it's coming from this version of the product. I'm going to send back the version of the data that is compatible with that version of the app. And you can make this so that your backend, right? It doesn't have to be hosted, but your backend is compatible with many different versions of your app. And you can start deploying things and differentiating things because you've got this common interface. That's the thing that you're actually doing here. You're giving yourself a contract. You're giving yourself a what would be the, I don't know, stick in the sand, right? An abstraction, yeah. Something that's steady, that's fixed, that you can work from. You can still migrate it, but then you then version the API. That's
right.
Yeah. Well, the other thing you want to do is you don't want to expose that once authenticated, I can execute any SQL I want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even though in your app you've only had 10 or 20 different ways of executing SQL, it doesn't mean that an attack vector isn't that somebody then gets past that and gets to execute any SQL you want.
Yeah.
And whereas with an API, it can only do what the API lets it do, which you hopefully have done a lot more security. It's a narrowing. You
can connect directly to certain databases. So example is there's extensions on Postgres that allow for row-based access control.
Right.
And there's a whole bunch of stuff you can, but you need to configure it properly. You need to, you're doing a lot more to that than you would do if you were to do it on your own access control and API.
You think Firebase rules are tough? Try row level security. On Postgres, it is insane the number of different ways you have to combine the rules to figure out. Oh man, it's great when it works. Great when it works.
Give me flashbacks. We need to move on.
Sorry.
Well, and then the other thing I'd like to throw out from a very practical standpoint is I'm presuming from this, maybe this is a hobby project for you, but most of us when we're doing things, I think we're aiming toward getting a real job doing Flutter, doing things like that. And so it's much better from a practical standpoint to learn how to do things the way things are done in a better way, a more maintainable way, so that it's useful toward that next job you may try to go. So even if this is a hobby project and it's never going to go anywhere other than what you're doing, it's still very good to get in practice of doing it the correct way.
As a follow-up here, can the Dart language be used to build this API?
Yes.
Yes. You can be
In
Dart
fact-
top to bottom of the stack. Yes.
In fact, I will send you a link in the chat right now to a little example. How's that? There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the WoW shopping application web little
Mhm.
server. There you go.
Yep.
It's a nice little example. You got error tracking, authentication, and APIs in there.
Yeah.
And again,
Right.
if you're learning this and you're wanting to get better at Dart and Flutter, writing it in Dart is the way to go, because you're staying in the same kinds of patterns and paradigms and things like that you're going to be used to doing other stuff. So let's say you're aiming to be a front end developer. You don't really need to have learn how to write APIs and stuff. You can do that. So I have to step away for a second.
Okay. All right. Let's move
next
on
question.
from this three-parter. Let's see. This is somebody. Is this the Matt that Danielle was
This is the
talking
Matt
about?
that we
I have
know.
no idea.
Yeah,
This is-
Matt
yeah.
Jones.
Okay.
Hey, Matt, where are you? You should come on the show.
Yeah. Yeah. Really. If you were interviewing someone to join your team as a Flutter developer, what types of things would you be looking for? I would say knowledge of Flutter.
Hopefully,
Knowledge of Dart.
Dart,
Dart, Dart.
using the SDK. Yeah. Well, I
Speaks
guess the other
English.
the other question, the bigger question is, what level are you looking for too, right? Because that would
Yeah.
determine what questions and things you look
I mean,
for.
The other thing is what packages and services are you using?
Right.
Like, for
Why?
example, Riverpod. If your app's using Riverpod, then you want to interview someone with knowledge of Riverpod.
Right.
One of the questions I like asking is to explain the difference between what was it? Oh god, now I just forgot it. It literally just left my mind like as I was about to ask it. No, it's gone. It'll come back to me in a minute.
All right.
right.
My go-to question for a lot of these things is, what's your favorite widget and why?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there's not,
one.
and that we can see how they're thinking about things.
Mhm.
I would like to know, why are you using this package? Why are you, why have you done stuff like this? And again, it depends upon the level I'm looking for. If I'm looking for a junior developer, I don't necessarily, at that point, I want to make sure they can take direction. So my questions there are not even so much Flutter related as, okay, yeah, so you learned looking at the VGV block stuff, but I don't use that. So are you willing to come in and take direction and do what I want? That's important if it's a junior person.
Yeah.
If it's a more senior person, I'd like to know, well, why do you like block? What is it about it that you like? And that way I can follow up with, well, contrast it to Riverpod or contrast it to just using
Whatever
it
they know. Yeah.
or anything like that. So, I mean, those are the kinds of things I want to make sure. I mean, when I'm interviewing anybody for any job, I want to make sure they can think. And so
Yeah.
my work is to try to figure that out. Now, once again, if I want them to come in as a very senior Flutter developer, I want to make sure they can think very specific about that. And so, that's an example where if they just say, I just use Riverpod because Randall on Humpday says use it, that's not a good answer for me.
That's a great reason.
Well, what do you mean that's not a good answer?
It's a great reason. Yeah.
But again, if it's a more junior person, I think if it's a more junior person, I think that is a great answer because they went and sought an expert and saw what they could do.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to ask people sort of at the intermediate to advanced level is, what is wrong with using MVVM and clean code? Because there is answers to those when you get a little further up the scale, when you're not religiously bowing down to those patterns, but instead thinking for yourself about how the design needs to be. So yeah.
All right.
All right. Next thing. Yes. This is a three-parter. Oh, sorry. What?
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. It's a good question.
Yeah. Great question. Okay. This is a three-parter. I think I already answered it, and I think you guys are going to answer it the same way. Three-parter. I would like to create an Android app that recognizes hand movement. Based on this movement, I want to simulate a mouse that would be captured by the Android system and across the system, not just in my app. This is where I think it gets sticky. moving, clicking gestures. My question is, do you know a good way to simulate a mouse? Well, start with a bigger mouse, I guess. No, that's the wrong answer. I did a little research. I don't even know where that came from. I did a little research, and it looks like the only options use accessibility. Apps like Touchpad use this. There's actually an app that does cross-app gestures. Root, ADB, Bluetooth, HID devices are out of the question. So my answer was, I don't think you can write apps that have impact on other apps. So I think you're already out of.
You can with accessibility.
So
accessibility. The idea behind the accessibility stuff is that you can like highlight certain buttons and perform actions, and essentially it's how custom input devices work, right? Like you can do a bunch of stuff there.
They require special certification or something, though, right? You can't just publish it and publish your own app.
Yeah, well, you can. It would get it becomes accessibility service, and the user then has to enable it and choose that one. And you would need to. It also gets like a special approval with the deployments in the App Store and everything else.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that another way of doing it possibly is. So you can do like software-based drivers. So if you had like a custom bit of hardware, you can actually do like user mode drivers. There's a name for them on Android. Life me, I can't remember what they're called. Basically, it means that you can actually like you could probably fake an input device and then push input events into the operating system, right? So for example, let's say you're a developer of a custom like joystick or something like magical like that, and it doesn't use Bluetooth HID, then you're using your own custom thing. Then you're going to have drivers on the system that would then tell the operating system, oh, the mouse has moved left or right or whatever it is. The thing is, if you're doing, hang on, the original question was they want to create an Android application that recognizes hand movements. Based on this movement, I'd like to simulate a mouse. So what you're saying is with the camera, right? So using AI/TensorFlow light model to recognize the motion of a hand, and based on that motion, move a mouse cursor on the screen or something like that. You can also do something else. So what you could do, so on Android, I literally forget iOS, pushed iOS out of the picture, right? But on Android, you can get the permission to draw by other applications. This is the way Facebook chat bubbles work, and like outside the application. So you can actually draw a mouse or your own custom cursor, move that around the screen, right? That's perfectly feasible. And when you want to tap, and the user like maybe the camera, they're moving their hand like this, and when they they move their finger, it taps the mouse. That's done with accessibility. You can inject a tap event with accessibility. So I think you could do that. Yeah, it's not easy. You could do it though.
One thing.
Go on.
I was going to say one thing I want to add, and I mean this may very well be something that could be usable for accessibility, but don't abuse accessibility to try to do something that's not for accessible purposes. It's just
this does sound like a dual use case for accessibility, right?
But I think it could be, yeah. Based when you started describing it, I came across that. So if that's the case, great. Let's do it. But I mean, if you're not intending it for that, then I start to, I don't like it for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
They put the locks, the guardrails in place for users on purpose. And so every time we're trying to figure out how to break something, that should be a warning sign for us in general. And yeah, so and plus if if someone gets where they can abuse part of that, it may get taken out of the accessibility world, or it may make life harder for everybody else getting stuff approved or whatever it is they have to do. So I'm just saying, is kind of a good community member. If it's got an accessible use case, awesome. I think that's amazing. Let's do it. But if you're not doing it for an accessible use case kind of reason, then I would ask you, please don't use accessibility for it, because that's just going to cause everybody else more grief later on.
I'm not joking. I literally just Googled it and it came up already. Someone's done this. Using accessibility to simulate a mouse on Android without root. It's done. It literally is already made for you. I'll put the link in the chat. I haven't tried it.
Hey.
It says it works on, it might be a bit old, 9 years old, but
Yeah.
you could modernize a version. But you've got like you've definitely got good
starting
basis
point.
there for a
By
starting
the
point.
power of Google Skull. Yes.
Simon has the power.
People are too young to
Oh
understand that,
man. Oh come on.
What's
Those
next?
are timeless shows. Those are timeless shows, really. Okay, on to the next thing here. Where's the next thing? It's probably this. This is a really generic question. How REST API should be structured for mobile and web? Correctly. I have to call seven APIs. To get data to populate a form. Okay.
Well, if they're from 7 different places, sure.
Fix that.
What do you mean? So first of all, you say 7 APIs. Is that 7 different API services, or is that like 7 different requests? So there's a difference in what you're saying there, because APIs has that dual meaning.
Well, but even so, I mean, if it's coming from the same service and the same back end, I mean, you might need to make 7 different calls if it's 7 separate different types of data, right? Or different.
Well, I'm going to say things. So it depends on what you're doing, right? So first of all, you should look at what you can cache, right? So for example, if you're filling out a form, I'm assuming you're making a request to go get like the list of items you want in certain drop downs, for example. Well, that's very cacheable information, right? Like it doesn't change all that often, probably. No. Put yourself a TTL on that, cache it for like a week, and you're not going to have to request for it a lot of the time. So you're only making maybe 2 API recalls before instead of 7 for most times they open up the form, right? So that's one thing. The other one is a lot of the time on mobile, too many round trips cost you, right? So every request that you make has established a TCP connection. That's like there's a lot of, you can go look this up. There's a lot of back and forth around that, especially if you got SSL, then you got TLS, and there's a bunch of other stuff that goes back and forth around that,
which you should have.
Yeah. This is all stuff that you need to have. Now, there's ways of setting up your backend, like using HTTP2, which means you can send multiple streams over one connection that solve these kind of problems, right? And then you wouldn't have a problem about making several API requests because they'll be going over one connection. You can also do something like a WebSocket and do that. I mean, it's still not great having lots of back and forth, but most of the time for web-based APIs, you do one which is you do a aggregation API, which is a service. Like you might have many APIs that are used for many different things in your company. You do like a mobile application aggregation API, and basically, when I say API, like a surface, right? Many functions, and one of them might be get form data, right, or whatever the thing is, and that's going to literally return back the contents that you would have been called for those 7 APIs in one response to the app, because the app requires all that data, and it doesn't make sense for the app to be making multiple requests.
Yeah, and I was going to mention that because it's if you control your the back end where you're making the call from, I mean you can make syntactic sugar if you want. I would still look at it and make sure it's enough related that you can that it makes sense.
Yeah.
But definitely you can create something that will return multiple things or add flags to an existing one to say give me this background data also on it, things like that. There's definitely things you can do.
A good example. This is like dashboards in applications. Sorry. A good example. This is dashboards in applications or front screens, right? Like they have a disparaging set of data. Like they have contain several bits of data from all across maybe your business surface that's just been displayed to the user to update them on the current state of their account or their whatever, right? That's ideally one API call like fetch latest dashboard data, right? And you get it down. Now, it's not related to all those separate APIs. It's its own separate thing for that reason, right? So that you can make one request rather than making multiple requests for that data.
I mean, the things you want to look at, if you're doing stuff like that, you may want, I mean, it gets a lot more complicated, but you may want to, add some query params that can, maybe say, here's how I want to expand my data out. Expanded equals, and maybe say, give me this other data with it. So you still make the call, it makes sense. But like, for example, if you're getting a form entry, maybe the full name is part of what you want. Maybe the address could be, you could have like something, you can create a syntax like expanded equals and say name and address. And that way it would know to send it back. And if you just made the call without that, it would just send you the, the record ID or whatever.
let's give an example.
yeah.
Let's just can I just give an example of this, which is quite common. So let's say you've got emails. Like this is like, I don't know, you got messages, right? So you have, here's your list of messages, and here's the contents of each message, right? This is data that you have. What you can do is have one API that services both. You make your list to get you make the request to get the list, and what you're saying is, I just want the headers of these messages. So the data that comes back in the model is just like the title and the date, but the contents is a missing field, like it's null, it's like on purpose, or you have like a something that indicates it's a partial response. But you can still make the same request, the same API, and say expand it, give me the full data, and it returns back all of the fields and all of the contents.
I was going to say that's exactly what GraphQL does well. So this may be a place where you'd want GraphQL. However, if you're stuck on the idea of making 7 different API calls, I insist that you name them after the dwarves. You call the doc call, then you call the dopey call, then you call the bashful call. Yeah.
And do they if it's 13, do they get the dwarves from Lord of the Rings, right?
No, wrong era.
No, it's 13. It's 13.
That's all modern stuff. Yeah. All right. Let's move on here.
Yeah.
How about this one? R HTTP versus DO. What the heck is R?
Is that HTTP versus DO? Was that typo?
I
don't know what R is there.
I feel like that is
typo.
HTTP versus DO. Maybe Sherry can clarify. But if let's say it is for the minute, like here's the thing, right? You talk about performance. DO is based on top of the HTTP stack, on top of the HTTP library. Therefore, it's always going to be theoretically slower than HTTP because you're doing more. It's that simple. You're running more code. It's going to be slower and less performant than the layer below that, right? However, the performance you're talking about is minuscule, right? You really have to be doing bad things to like really sort of like get a big performance difference between some of these libraries, right? Like doing other network requests whilst trying to process headers or something really ridiculous, right? Like, yeah, things that would just slow it down, no matter what library you use. From a performance perspective, should make a difference.
There is an RHTTP package.
John, there is an RHTTP. Oh,
yeah, and I also threw Thomas's nice extensive article that he did on the HTTP clients in there.
Nice.
If you want to share
that's a really good article.
Yeah.
Did you throw that in the?
It is. Yeah, they're both in the private chat. Yeah. And actually, the RHTTP package talks about some of the things that he talks about in his article.
So good. Right, I'll post that here. Hang on, 1 second. This is one of our friends, Thomas Burkhart. This is his article on HTTP clients and some of the limitations and things therein. Mm-hmm. And our HTTP package, which we're going to take a look at. Shall I share this? And we can get it together. See what it's all about. I have no idea what this package is.
It's Rust. It's written in Rust. It's an HTTP client written in Rust that supports all the things that aren't in HTTP.
Which is fair. So I just so here's the thing, right? I like Rust. I really do. It's way better than C and C++, right? Don't get me wrong. However, you do suddenly put yourself in a position where you're what's the word? You're still going to limit your platforms because you need to compile this code for the various different platforms you're on the various different libraries. So you might find yourself limited there. I mean, compiled Rust code is probably going to be more efficient than compiled Dart code. How's that? Like they're just a different level of language. Rust is a systems level language, similar to C++, right? That's you have to compare the fact that Dart and Flutter are running on built by C++. They're running on top of it, right? However, the performance of the output Dart code is machine code is getting better and better by the day. They're removing like instructions and they're making the compiler better. So I don't think, unless you, the best way, if you want to look at performance, run benchmarks, right? Write yourself a little benchmark. Write yourself a little benchmark that compares the two packages and see which one you get better.
Yeah.
Unless you're using these features, though, I would highly recommend you use the inbuilt Dart one, just from the perspective of HB2 is supported by default. I don't know what's talking about that. HB3 is not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is interesting because it is. So, okay. Maybe this is old. Maybe I don't know. I don't know when this came out.
8 days ago.
Well, that was the last release. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's still quite new. Again, they haven't solidified their API. It's 0.7.2. It's not version 1 yet. This package uses Flutter Rust Bridge.
I wouldn't cross that bridge.
Sounds like it might fall apart.
I'm hoping this is generating.
Yeah.
I'm hoping this is generating FFI code. What is this doing? Dart code without manual intervention.
Oh, I love it when I can make a call without manual intervention. Because otherwise, we got to ship people with every copy of the app.
I know. I mean, I love to like explore it deeper.
So the answer is we don't know, and we can research it if we think it's
I mean, again, here's the thing. This library is all like see, it says Cronet and Cupertino. These are two different HTTP implementations. This one's for iOS, and this one is for Android. Both of which use the native stuff that's built into the device. Like you can see here, like Google Play Service or standalone library. Again, to give you like these new, HTTP3 features and everything else. They're perfectly serviceable. But again, they only support those platforms. But that's the point, right?
Yeah.
I like this idea, like maybe you include this and you're getting it for everything. But yeah, you increase your APK size by 2 megabytes on ARM64 and 6 megabytes if compiled for architectures for all three. Oh no, I think this is basically it's 2 megabytes each.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so this is actually written incorrectly. Sorry, come on.
I was going to say, I do have to say the paragraph above that just breaks my heart, where it supports all platforms except web.
Yeah, and I don't. The thing is, it would never.
Yeah,
but it can never support web because you have to use the browser's implementation.
No, I get that. I'm just saying the way it's worded. I just
again, but this should be that it
It's also like, what are we arguing over here about the performance of HTTP? The big delay on HTTP is the freaking network time. It's going to have nothing to do with the speed on device, about how well it sets up and consumes an HTTP request. That's going to be in the noise, always in the noise. Let's do something.
Much faster at downloading larger files and a bit faster at downloading small files compared to default HTTP. I mean, you say much faster. Okay, hang on. You got some examples.
Your benchmark's right. Yeah.
1 kilobyte 10,000 times, 10 megabytes 100 times. I mean, the thing is, I mean, the other side of this is, I'm going to say, this is stuff that can actually be really well optimized. This is probably just buffering and then how buffers have been handled. Like, I'm not.
One is just spinning up new clients and stuff all the time for each one, and
I still bet it's not going to make much difference at all to UX at all.
Yeah.
And
you're not gonna really notice anything.
No.
Yeah.
If you like the API and you like to use it. I mean,
right.
2 meg to your app, go ahead. I mean, I'm not.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not convinced though. The other side to this is this also adds. To be clear, this will be a dynamic library. Where is it? So this suggests that this is a dynamic library that's shipped inside your Android application, a .so file, and then this is going to use the Rust Bridge to generate some code that allows it to use FFI to communicate with that shared library. This means that the shared library is shipped alongside your application. It also means that if someone wanted to hack into your application and see all of the data being sent back and forth, well, they just replace that shared library with you basically make a little proxy library, and basically they can see all the data going back and forth in the clear because the TLS is done by the library, right? Yeah, so whereas if it's done inside Dart, that's actually compiled into your application, and it makes it a lot harder, especially if you obfuscate your Dart code and then you can encrypt your end machine code and so on. So there's, from a security perspective, this also has some implications. If your application is, most applications don't care about that, but if it's a financial application, then this might make a difference.
Cool.
Okay, all right.
Moving on. I downloaded a font from FontShare. It works well on real websites. However, my Flutter app, the accent letters are different from expected, bigger and wider. Ooh, any idea why?
My first question is it really this? Is it? Are they the same font though? I mean, because maybe these characters don't exist in the font that you downloaded, and now it's using a default font that might be different.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, I mean, the most of the time, so Gerb's like pretty much using the same libraries. There's only like 3 or 4 libraries that process fonts. I don't see them coming out with anything very particularly different. However, Gerbs, what you might be seeing is something called a variable width font. So you originally what you would do is you would have a font file for each different variable weight font. You get a font file for each different weight. So you'd have like a bold, you'd have a medium, you'd have a light, you have an extra light, you have like a black, whatever it's called, like all the different like variations. You also get one font file that contains all of the variations, and what it actually is doing is giving hints to how it should be loaded with different weights and how to handle manipulation of the glyphs.
Well, I mean, you can inspect the font too, and just make sure what's there and see what it has.
All it's going to suggest was, what you might be seeing, Gerbs, is that you're getting a different weight loaded because it's a variable font and it's being mishandled. So maybe just try grabbing your normal 300 weight font and use that directly on its own and not the variable width one. Maybe that makes a difference. Situations only those characters, right, which would indicate there is something problematic with in terms of loading that font if it's not the same on another browser. If it's different on a browser. Equally, the browser, sorry to step in. Equally, the browser will you may have a different font file. So the browser will look up based on the system fonts that are installed as a priority. And also the ones that are loaded in the browser are WAFs or other types of format, not necessarily the same format of file, which makes it different, processed differently. So if it's not the same TTF file or not the same OTF file, you're probably also getting that experience where you're essentially using, it might be the same font name, same font weight, but you're actually a different font file. Then that's also problematic because
he got his answer. He called the weight that it did not. He didn't import in the assets.
There we go. That'll do it. So let me explain what's going on there, just for those people that don't understand. If you can use any weight with any font, right? And font files themselves can basically, when you change the font, it actually stretches it out. So when you change the weight, it stretches it. And this is like the default to handle weights, right? So bold, when you apply bold, it applies a fractional weighting to the points so that you get like a fake bold is the name given in industry to this. So what you're probably seeing there, Gerbs, is that you didn't have the weight, so it tried to fake it basically, and it looked terrible. Which is why you have the different fonts with the different weights, because a generic stretch everything doesn't work for most glyphs, right?
Right.
Okay.
Next.
On to the next thing. Okay. I don't understand this one quite. Git changey. Pub dev. What can be improved? Who's Git
I'm assuming
changey?
Is that a package?
I don't know. Is it? Is that a package name?
Yes, it is.
It's
a changelog generator for GitHub.
That's cool. I'm assuming this is your package, Sheree. Because you're asking how can it be improved. Let me have a look at the API. Let me go look at
An
the
unverified uploader.
Yeah, it's Sheree. I see his face on the
Yeah.
GitHub. And this is
Yeah.
promotion. This you gotta be careful. This is getting close to promotion. Anyway,
skirting the rules. Skirting the rules.
Well, I
he
mean,
changed the
one
powerful
thing
dark
can be
command line
done.
tool.
One thing that can be done is you could provide an example, and let's see.
I should be looking at this.
And your the package description is too short in your pubspec.yaml. So, I mean, you could go get the extra 20 pub points.
Simon, why aren't you bringing this up on your screen yet?
I'm trying to.
Okay. I was going to say, why would I need to bring it up on my screen, not right now? And I'm going, oh, wait, that's because Simon hasn't done it yet. All right.
Oh, and it's brand new, too.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
001. That's the first thing that's wrong.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that would tell me that this is not something I could ever rely on.
Published
Yes.
12 hours. This is such an advertisement.
12 hours.
Such an
Too fresh.
advertisement.
Yeah.
Right. Now I'm going to say, for me, I've been using actually I've been using another tool, which I'm going to get your name for you because it's just left my mind. Gitcliff. Has any of you heard of Gitcliff?
No.
I really like that. I'm going to bring it up actually because this to me is the epitome of the best one for building change logs. So is that coming up for everyone?
Yep.
Yeah. So little animation there.
Weird animation.
So yeah, basically, yeah, it allows you to like choose how you want to process your change logs and make links, and it does the whole lot, and it's easily configurable. And it's done. It's written in Rust, so it's nice and efficient. Can't complain.
Does it use a Rust bridge?
But yeah, I mean, maybe my answer to your library would be to go look at this and see what features and things they do, and how you can maybe make yours better by competing with them.
I believe Milos also has some roll up logic for change logs.
Milos.
Yeah.
It's Melos.
Milos. It's Milos.
No.
Right?
No, even Invitates call it Melos, and they're the owners of the creators.
Okay. I've never heard it pronounced out loud. I'm sorry. Yes.
But
yeah,
I mean, sneaky publicizing it can be a good thing, but we're not gonna fall for it again. I can tell you that.
Oh, we will. We're like that. Yes.
I mean, my talk in New York was about taking code you've written and creating a package with it and giving back. So I want to say thank you for making this attempt. That's awesome. Thank you.
I'm looking at this though. Yeah, I think I'm sorry. My first look through this, I'm like, there's no example. Like you look at this, right? Like there's an example. We're taking these commit messages and we make this change log.
Yeah.
There's no example of like the kind of input and outputs that you get, which is what this whole tool is about. There's not one example of that.
Right. Yeah. So, by the way, that example doesn't. I mean, it'd be good to have a good example also in there as an example, but show us what it looks like. I mean, give us something visual on your readme. Yeah, exactly. For sure. That would be a good thing. Yeah. So I mean, because looking at that, I don't quite see why I would need that.
And maybe I'm just an old guy. Maybe I'm just an old guy, but the emphasis on what emojis he uses is a little scary to me. The emojis are irrelevant to me. I don't really care about those at all.
Everything. There's emoji for everything.
I'm more
interested in the fact that he says like it says database changes, text changes. Like there's all these kind of like categorizations, right?
Yeah.
But how are you,
if you have a domain, verify your publisher. I mean, I'm looking at that.
Yeah, and also verify publisher. Yeah.
You know, I mean,
this is interesting. See if his own changelog uses it. Is he eating his own dog food?
Well, maybe we need to change before we know that. I think because the first one needed to be there. But yeah, I mean, I just it's like I said, good start. Thank you for that. But when I'm looking at what I want to do, I care. Do I know the person? Do I, especially if it's a brand new package. So there's some trust there that, I don't necessarily know you yet. So, I don't want to get past that. I don't see, the README didn't sell me on exactly why I need you, which is kind of where Simon is saying, show us like why I need you, up at the top, show me why I need you. Show how to do
You
it.
need an elevator pitch. What's your elevator pitch for this?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I didn't see that there. And then, like I said, I mean, you can max out your pub points. That's easy to do. I mean, that doesn't say a whole lot, but that's something you can do. You can, definitely work on that. And then, hit social media, whatever, try to get people to use it, to work on that. And that'll either that's going to work really well, in which case, you've got something, keep pushing at it. Or maybe, or the worst case scenario should be that they come back and they say, okay, yeah, but it'd be nice if we did this, or it didn't meet my needs because of that, or this was broken, or whatever it is. You can start working toward figuring out how to go, because there's a lot of really cool things that have been done in a vacuum that just don't land.
Yep.
A
nice Medium article describing how to use it and all that fun stuff for the Flutter community would be fine too at some point. Yeah,
that'd be awesome. And again, it would let me know why I care.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you do a good enough job and it's interesting enough there, it's going to make me even want to go try it. Even if it's not even something I thought I needed or still think I need, I might want to go try it and see what's there, because I liked what I read from you. I agree with that. Medium article is a great idea.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll beat it to
All right.
death. Move
All
on.
right, I'm gonna have to run off.
Okay.
So I will see you
Bye,
guys.
Danielle.
Too.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks.
All right. So, how about running UI inside Isolate? How about running UI inside Isolate?
No.
Was that like part of another question?
No.
Yeah, but no. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but you can sort of, because you can have, if the isolate communicates with your state management somehow.
Let me tell you what you can and can't do. Right, just to explain this point. You can certainly build your UI in an isolate, because I've written code that does that. And basically, what you're doing is you're just building a set of widgets, and those widgets are being returned from your isolate. They're just model objects at that point, right? They're just the constructors being called with parameters. That's it. But your actual elements, the things that hold your state, and the render objects, they're all going to be made on the main thread. So if you're doing like maybe if you're doing so what in my case I was passing HTML and making up widgets from HTML, that's something that was perfectly great to do in isolate, right? You're doing this heavy CPU work that you want to run in isolate, and then that you want to return UI widgets from that. That's an ideal thing. I can't see of any other reason where you would want to, like, obviously doing a doing a heavy piece of CPU bound work and then returning a widget. Yeah, that makes sense. You can do that, but that's not the same as running your UI inside an isolate.
Right. Okay. That's probably beat to death. Let's move on. Why do we need 20 testers to app ready production and wait 14 days? That's what Google wants you to do now.
They decided that's what they wanted to
do.
Yeah.
That's the rule. Yeah. If you had been on board before last year, you would not be facing this. So you are obviously a new developer, and they're trying to filter out the new developers by setting the bar a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Yep. It's still doable,
also,
though. People are doing it.
It's the idea is also to get rid of all that the spammy stuff going on in the stores.
Yeah.
Because there's no way you're going to be like creating something really quickly, trying to shove it up in the store, take people's money, and then disappear, or whatever it might be, because it takes 14 days and you had to find 20 different testers and blah blah blah. Right. So
the other way around this is to become a small business and get a commercial level license with Google.
Yeah.
And that being a what do they call it? They call it a team membership or whatever. There's like names for that.
Yeah.
Organization team,
company,
organization
level producer. That they're not subject to that requirement. Only new individual accounts are. So that's a way to do that. Yes. In fact, Matt Jones just said that. Yeah, see, that's how we got around it. We're an actual organization. Are you organized? That's the thing. So you can be an organization that is as chaotic as just some random people who show up in Starbucks together. Right, exactly. So I guess it's arguable either way. All right, enough on that. Anyway, it's the rules. That's why it is. How is a package recognized as a Flutter favorite? Simon may know something about this.
It has a Flutter favorite logo on it. Sorry, couldn't resist.
That's great. No, that's perfect. That's
perfect.
Yes.
Submit your package or other packages you're interested in being a Flutter favorite to the email address that's on the website. There's a Flutter favorite page that's linked from Pub and from the flutter.dev website, and you'll find there's a link in there. So they get that's how they get recognized. So either they're getting submitted by community, or the members of the committee suggest some. They go into the poll, and they all get reviewed and they get processed, and hopefully if they all pass, then you get a Flutter favorite. That's it. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, that
we haven't. The committee hasn't met for a while to choose the next round of Flutter favorites. So, we need to process the previous ones as well. So it's
and maybe it would help. What are the things that are looked at? I mean, obviously you're looking at pub points, you're looking at popularity, you're looking at likes, and
get them up now.
All kinds of stuff, right? So, we're putting. He's going to fall asleep.
Sorry, there's a bunch of things like code quality. Is there an example? Is it easy to understand? Is the README up to scratch? Like, we look at like the README like we just did, which change you there and to see if is it up to par? Do we think there can be improvements and so on? And work together like the champion. We call it the Flutter favorite champion. That's the member of the committee that will work with the package author. If they will work directly with the package author to improve their package to the level that we believe a Flutter favorite should be. And this is for the community, right? So that you can trust in the idea of having like these packages that are of high quality and high level and maintained.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Git Changey has a ways to go before submitting, just in case you were curious.
If you submit and it's not there, it goes like the bottom of the list, just like the questions on here, right? Like it might not be looked at again for a while. Just so you know.
Yeah. All right.
There's a limited amount what we can do, right? So
yeah. The next is a two-parter.
ready.
Oh, not a two-parter yet. We got one more before the two-parter. LG is now using Flutter for the apps, but the thing is, we're trying to build the application, even the counter app. The performance is just so, but the performance of compiling it, or the performance.
So remember, there's a difference between running in release mode and debug mode.
Yeah. That's what are you running it on? I mean, what are you?
Yeah.
Are you running on a device, on an emulator,
TV?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're running it. If you're running a debug app on an emulator, it's gonna be bloody slow.
So he responded running in release mode. And
on the real device.
In actual TV.
Well,
I guess what are you doing?
And you're following their recommendations, because I can't believe that, because they've got applications that are very fast.
Yeah.
So the question then becomes, and I'm going to tell you this one now, you said even counter app. There's got to be something that you're doing wrong here.
Mm.
It could be that the actual TV itself is just a really poor performing low end TV, and then it's poor performing. Because there are TVs that are just atrocious. Like you press the button on the remote and you have to wait 3 seconds and suddenly it responds, right? Like it's, you can't believe that they ship these things and expect people to use them. I'll tell you.
I remember when TVs had knobs.
I'd rather pay like $50 extra for a TV and get one that's responsive.
Yeah. He says might be an issue with his TV. So
I mean, it's sadly, the other side of this could be that I don't know if you want to follow this advice. Don't blame me if you break your TV. Doing a factory reset on your TV and that will clear its data and reset its settings and everything else. Might put it in an initial state that's actually more akin to working well with a new application install, rather than having a bunch of apps that you may have already got installed on TV with a bunch of data and everything else. So maybe wiping it and like factory resetting it might do you good, but you'll lose everything. Not my fault. Don't come.
Just make sure it's backed up in Git. Just make sure it's all in Git. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. You can come back with your with your examples. Also, reach out to the LG team and ask them about it. Your model of TV, is it supposed to work? And tell them that you've been experiencing slow application development. Do they also recommend maybe a version of the TV that is one that you should be developing on?
Yeah.
There you go.
I remember when we didn't have to talk about slow and quick TVs.
Where TV was just a tube with a
TV,
receiver.
Yeah.
like I said, had a
Completely
big
analog.
knob on it. Big knob. There were 13
I do-
channels, and if you didn't
I
like
remember.
that, too bad.
I'm totally old because I remember analog TV where you'd have to like you'd turn the dial just like you would a radio to get the picture clear.
Here was your remote control. Son, go change the channel.
Remote? You had remote
Yeah.
controls? Wow.
The son, the kids, go
Oh,
change
yeah.
the channel for dad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I know. Now that I'm a grandpa,
saw-
I can actually get away with that. Yeah.
I was really impressed actually. The very first like early remotes, I saw one which was really interesting. The buttons themselves on the remote, they're like the ka-chunk buttons. You push them, there they go ka-chunk,
Right.
ka-chunk,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Making a sound.
But they went, but no. But the effort of pushing them down actually made the electrical current needed to transmit the signal. And I thought that was super, like, really good engineering. Right. I mean, now people don't want to push like that, but the idea of that you would push harder, and by doing that, and the motion did that Peltier effect, and you would actually get the small electrical current that would actually light up the infrared or whatever it was, and I think it was radio. I think it actually did it by like short burst radio.
Yeah, RF.
And was picked up by the TV.
The really early ones use sound though. I remember that specifically. So that thunk actually did a tuned ultrasound that the TV picked up.
That's what Christian just put in the chat.
Yeah.
So there was some really cool stuff going on. I was just like,
yeah. Anyway, ancient technology. We went from you need 14 reviewers all the way back to it used ultrasound. Boy, wasn't that cool! All right.
At least the requirement is that you mustn't have like 100.
I'll be right back.
100 ancient developers review your code.
Yeah, right. Right. Okay. And of course, there's a Windows question. Just as John leaves, nice. I need to set the build size of my Windows app. It's in main. Its set size is 800, 480, and 132 shows. Show Windows. Blah blah blah. There's a part 2. The user window gets this size. The rest of it takes the dressing around the area. Is this dressing a constant, or how do you calculate it? Okay.
So what you're talking about. So in Windows, the terms are client and non-client areas. You're asking for the client size to be a fixed size, like 800 by 480, where what it takes into account is the borders of the window and the non-client. Sorry, the title and the borders of the window as a non-client area. There are APIs to calculate this size, and you can call them, and then you can add them to your size. It's how you have like video players. So video players on like software, they normally want to size the window to the playback size. So they have the content size, and then they need to calculate how big their window is going to be around that content, and then size the window appropriately to that. So you can do it, but there's not like an inbuilt function. It's up to you to calculate the size. You call the API to calculate what the title size would be and the borders based on your current style and extended style for your window that you're creating, and then it will return them back, and then you add them to your width and height, and then you create your window with that. It's not like an API which just says make sure my window maintains its size to this client size. Like, this is the difference between I just want to be clear about this because it's kind of interesting. This is the difference between it's really interesting, right? So this is how this is about APIs and libraries, right? So you build the building blocks like Lego, but you don't build high-level interfaces that use those, right? So Windows is providing you an API to get the non-client area size and to size the window. It's up to you to go, oh, I want to size my window via its non-client area. It's up to you to join us together to use it. This is the same with literally most APIs, right? Because it makes effective use of their API service to like for you, let's say you're building an API to maintain these basics things and not all these complex higher level functions, right? So if you have a base of simple principled APIs, that's a better surface area and easier to maintain, and you support those. If there's like higher concepts which combine those structures, that's the next level above, and that's up to the apps or maybe a mid-tier library, you know, like framework to do. Maybe there's some sort of framework that you get which just says, you know, has these built-in functions, and they support those. So it's really about it's about anyway. There you go. So there is an API. Couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but I've told you what to search for. It's getting the non-client area size.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. That was our last question. So we are now, let's see here. How do I pull that back up? I do this. There we go.
Hey, all right, let's answer the Windows question.
Yeah, we did. We did. You're late. You're late to the show.
Did you hear what I said about that?
I did, yeah. That sounds right. Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
Sounds right. It's been
I caught bits of it as I
do?
was walking away, and that was about it.
I'm
kind of curious. Let's do something here. Hang on. We could run the Windows app on my machine and see if we can get that working.
We forgot his one question.
Was it marked?
I don't know what it was.
Well, I'm asking that, or did we not see it? Because
Well,
it's possible that we didn't see it.
What's that?
The LG one. I see that one.
Yeah, I'm scrolling back. I'm not seeing anything
I don't
else.
see anything else.
What was this? What am I missing?
There's a question from Flutter with Ramen.
Post it again. There you go.
Post again. Post right now. Post right now.
And if you put a link in it, we can't see it. So don't put a link in it. That might be why it can come through.
Don't put a link in it.
Right. So you have the Humpday 2 package, which I wonder if this has...
That's the one by
it was originally by Tim Smith,
right? Yeah.
It's not maintained by Tim anymore. It's maintained by one of the original this guy.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. I guess that's his name. Ali, whatever. Anyway, because Tim moved to, was it Facebook, or I can't remember which company it was.
Apple.
Apple, that was the one. And then with corporate contracts, they're not allowed to, any code they write would be owned by Apple or that kind of thing in America. Yeah. So my assumption, at least, is that he's given up the package to one of the main contributors because it needs to be kept and going and updated and everything else. So anyway, non-client. Oh look, non-client metrics. There you go. That's the one. I remember that. SPI get non-client metrics, and there you go. Window border width, window caption height. These values are the ones that you add to your window size to make up the difference.
Yep.
And we could try to get this out. What's the? It's system parameters info. Oh god, this is all coming back to me. Oh, it's been so long. System parameter info. Oh look, there it is. So so you call this API, and we could go look it up, and then you pass it a structure. You pass it this key to get them. There should be a constant value for that somewhere. And by calling get what did I say, system parameters info. That's the one. So you pass in that value, and then this pointer to native type is a pointer to that structure. It'll fill it in with the various values. So we could give that a go. Hopefully that is what you're looking for. For the minute, it's
we actually do have a new question if you want to take on another question before you get to live coding.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah, here. Let me show this. What would be your recommended way to render n by n grid in greater than 1K? Oh god. Ouch.
Hang on. We'll be making hang on. Render an n by n grid.
N greater than 1K.
Specific color for each grid. What?
Was it a grid in a grid, or is it a?
Is it actually a grid, or just mean a bitmap? Because what you're describing is a bitmap. It's a grid of pixels with color values. I'm gonna. Should we look at the gist? I don't know if I want to look at the gist.
No, it's probably going to be a huge bunch of code.
And Flutter with
nested
Ramen
loops.
did post.
Yeah, so we do have a
Okay,
question.
well, what's that question? Let's take a look at
that? Ignore this
We
1K
can answer
question.
that while we look at the gist.
Yeah.
Running-
While running our Flutter web app, it calls fonts website and downloads the fonts from there. But why can't I store the fonts locally? The thing is running with no interconnect. Well, once you download it, you can put it in local data space. And do whatever you want to there.
You said you can't, but you can. You just download it locally, store it.
Yeah.
Well, or ship it with the app. I mean, if you're doing
this
that,
is web. Well, you can to ship it. Well, you can. It's the same thing.
No,
it puts it on the server, and you just download and use
Flutter
it.
web app. Yeah. Right.
It calls a font website to download fonts from there, but why can't store the fonts locally? I mean, the thing is, you can, but the browser does it automatically. You call out to the font, it caches the request.
Yeah.
And when you go to the website next, it'll be cached by the browser.
Yeah.
That's
not
the whole
going
point.
off
You
and
don't
getting
need
it again,
what you're describing, Flutter with is what the browser does by default.
Well, but he's saying he builds the app and runs, and it's pulling the font, which he doesn't want. Well, so load the font from your file system.
Yeah. Just put the font in your app and ship it as part of your app. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, include it in the assets.
Pull the font from the internet, then do that. The Google Fonts package, which I'm assuming is the one you're maybe using, does by default downloads them, caches them locally, and uses them locally. And you can also ship them with your app, and it also shows you how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've tried to help, but maybe didn't give him the answer he wanted to hear. Maybe. I don't know.
Along with Canvas as well. Okay.
I mean, the font's got to be somewhere. The easiest is to make it part of the assets on the way as you're shipping it. Or you can have it load, but then it means it has to be online. What?
I'm tired. I'm tired, Chris. What are you doing to me?
Excel
file to one-to-one pixel.
Oh, yes.
And his colleagues were not impressed.
Matt Parker did a whole presentation on that, of actually taking an image from a digital camera and feeding it into an Excel sheet. Oh my God, that was incredible. That's the mathematics stand-up guy, and he does really great shows. I've been a subscriber of him for years. So
So it's interesting.
Another math.
It's kind of a cool thing to do, but they're very practical. It's like so much overhead per pixel. So the question, back to that question. What was the question? We kind of skipped.
I got it.
Which one?
Right here, the 1K one.
The gist.
Yeah.
So I've got it open here. That is the wrong window, but we can fix that.
You can imagine it would be there. Oh, there we go. No.
Just imagine you're looking at the gist.
Yes.
There you go.
You get the gist of it.
So number of items. It can be expensive. Yes, it can. So okay.
Oh, meaty query.
Okay.
Well, size of.
At least size of, yes. You've got 1 plus point and 2 minus points.
And we're going to print rebuild each time. Okay, great. So you're doing this on build. Why are you doing this on build?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
This is your problem. Don't do this on build. Right, create a picture recorder, create a canvas. Shape.
You're gonna owe Simon a pint of his favorite beverage after this.
It's okay. Why? Can't you just do canvas, draw a rectangle? Like what?
A rounded rectangle.
And then recorder and recording to image. Wait, what?
You're stress testing.
I think this is the. Okay, so all you're doing right now is you're filling a square with black, and then you're making a picture, an image from it, and then you're using what, a raw image to display it somewhere? No, you're not even doing that. Wait, what? 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 No, it's a number of items, interactive viewer, image. So you pass image over to Foo Painter. Okay. All right, we're about to find out what Foo Painter does. I'm sorry. Again, I'm not trying to, again, this is constructive criticism. I'm not like taking the, the Mickey out of your code or anything else. Like, this is just take it positively, because that's how I mean it to be given. And sorry if I'm a bit, right. Anyway,
accurate
image, number, grids. I know. Okay, so yeah, look. So Rex. So you create a list of rectangles in the slowest possible way.
Yeah.
We
It's a
then
benchmark.
create a list of colors.
It's supposed to be slow.
Modulus by the primaries. Okay. Offsets. You then create a set of offsets.
And dot ads. Oh.
I'm literally seeing no reason that you need these offsets right now. I appreciate that you've done Draw Atlas. That is actually a really good. Sorry. So he's using Draw Atlas to actually draw all the rectangles all at once.
Okay. That's good.
So this is better than not. But basically, what you're doing here is, I mean, yeah, don't. So if each one's okay. So first of all, let's just take a step back here, right? So let me minimize that question for a second, just so we can see everyone's faces, right? So conceptually, you've got a surface area, and let's just say it's a square right now. You're subdividing it by an equal number or a number of rows and columns. You then want to paint each square, each rectangle, with a different color. Sorry, someone's at the door. 1 second.
It's Ramen. He's actually showed up at the door. No, really. What I meant was... Oh, and here's your adult beverage. For Mickey, you go through that.
Okay,
yes.
So...
This is stress testing, but only because it's probably not doing anything in an optimal way. This is the kind of stress testing if you do repeated addition to simulate multiplication.
So we...
All right, I'm back. Sorry, that was Amazon delivery.
Hey.
And the Amazon listing is wrong. How about that? No surprise.
You get that there too?
No, they were like,
thing.
We're going to send you two. So there's a box you have outside of houses to like read your meter over here, and you have to have like a certain special key. They said, you get two in this pack for the price of one. So there's two. Yeah, two keys in that one package.
Yeah.
Now
but you get two packages instead of...
No one needs 4 keys.
I had that once with socks. I wanted to get 6 socks, and I ended up with 6 pairs of socks.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't figure out what the numbering system was. I thought, well, I don't want an odd number of socks. So I said 6, and then I got 6 pairs.
So what were we talking about? Yeah, so subdividing a square. So you're subdividing a square, you're painting each square. This is fine. Right. This is literally what you're doing with this function that we see in front of us, right? So you're saying, okay, I need to create a list of X times Y number of squares, and you're calculating a rectangle based on your grid size. It's always square. You're then saying, okay, now I need to generate the same set of colors. Then you're doing the offset of each one. Now, this whole idea of Draw Atlas is when you need things that are not in a grid form, right? They're like they're in random places on screens. You need to supply an offset. You don't need to supply an offset for a grid because it's implied, right? The positions are implicit by the fact that it's a grid. So
Yeah.
this is very wasteful, right? And very slow. You also don't need to transform them because they don't need to go slow. So all of this is just not required, right? Now, when you actually come down to it, what you're actually better off doing is actually rendering your colors into a bitmap and sending the bitmap across, and then you leave it with the bitmap image quality thing set to off so that it has sharp edges when scaled up rather than blurry edges. That would probably be maybe a nicer way. Again, how often are you changing these colors? Right? Like you could honestly just loop around in 1,000 by 1,000. Like this is a bitmap. Like you're better off shifting this data over as a bitmap to the GPU. Like you've got literally, imagine the overhead that you've now done. You've got a color value, you've got an X, you've got a Y, you've got a scale factor, and you've got the skew factor, and you've got the width and the height. So you're looking at least 7 floats for one rectangle, and you're doing 1,000 by 1,000. So back of the envelope calculation on that one, right? So we're saying 1,000 by 1,000. That's 1 million times 7. Times 7 times 8. So you're talking about 56 megabytes of data per frame you're shipping over to the graphics card.
Ouch.
Well,
Ouch.
he wants to animate it later. Is that
animate it? How? What do you mean animate?
Animated? Ooh.
He wants John shape. He wants to animate. Wait, what did he say in the chat?
I don't know. Like, did we miss that in the chat?
He tried. Right, hang on. He's other things here. So that he says, try to pass a color array in fragment shader, but expects a constant index in the fragment shader, and then got Flutter GPU and master. Can you explain why you're trying to send these squares? Like what you're trying to achieve by this, right? That's what I think is quite important because you're explaining what you.
Oh, and then down below, 2 more.
Yeah.
He says later plan to animate it. There's a Stack Overflow answer that is the cool thing.
Oh.
Okay.
I think he's trying to recreate the Empire State Building interactive photo gallery. What? What's that?
I don't know if that's related or not, or if that was just a.
I mean, what on touch animate? I don't know what is that. Does anyone know what that is? Do I have to look it up? Oh.
On touch animate. Dot paint color ? Later plan to animate color.
Oops.
Wow.
Yes.
We've just
I think a description of what you're trying to do, what the
the
end goal is would help.
What's your question to us? We need to know.
Yeah.
I think we're lost. Is this the last thing? No, the footer with ramen has one thing still.
No, we
Oh,
answered.
no, that was the font thing. We answered.
Yeah,
Okay,
that was the font.
We're done.
Yeah, I think we're probably done.
We're done.
I want. Do we want to do a little bit of coding? Maybe do that non-client area thing because that kind of bugs me too.
The custom painter thing.
The custom paint progress indicator.
Whatever that one. Let me see if I can find
we
that.
could, but also within the client area on Windows. Let's do a little bit. We can do a little bit, but it'll be quick.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to stick around for it, unfortunately. But
okay. Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
I just I have just what arrived by Amazon. I didn't tell you. I got a new toy to play with here.
Oh, there's something else.
Have you guys seen these?
You got a new one.
It's a new tablet, but it uses a reflective-based screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see that kind of reflects the light, ambient light.
Yeah.
But it's 60 FPS. So it's,
oh wow.
So it's nice and so
yeah.
And apparently I needed to buy a separate pen for it. So I have no idea how to use this thing.
It's a tablet. It uses itself.
Yeah. Right.
That's what I've been doing wrong.
Yeah,
You
it'll
just talk
tell you
to
what
it.
to do.
You give it voice commands.
If it's from Apple, it'll have a little clown come
Yeah.
out and point at the
It's
button
like
that's
Apple
supposed to be
Intelligence.
pressed.
It'll
Yeah.
just answer everything for you
Right.
sometime in the
I
future
literally-
when it comes out. That's the instruction card that came with it.
Yeah.
One giant QR code.
Right.
Yeah, go to this website.
Right. Yeah.
This
It's
is
404s.
People are asking what is it? What's the model
this is
and the
called
brand? and all
this
that?
is the Hands Note 2 by Handspree. There you go. HANNS.
Somebody
Note.
Flutter with Ramen saying hack it and install Windows or Linux.
Well, actually, the reason why I got this, it would help if I put the battery in the right way. The reason why I got this is because it runs Android, so I should be able to run Flutter apps on this. So I can be looking at how to build Flutter apps with this new display technology, which I thought was, it works. Funny enough, you put the battery in, right, it works.
Wow. Imagine
very
that. It
very
doesn't
crisp.
just operate on ultrasonic, because I know that worked back in the past.
Oh, do you remember? Here's something for you. Do you remember the original touchscreen technology, which was you had infrared LEDs around the screen,
Yeah.
and then you put the pen up and it would block the infrared. That was one, and then the other one was with a CRT with the lights with the
light, the pen.
I remember.
So the pen would have the light sensor and detect where the light beam was, and based on the interrupt of vertical refresh, you could determine where the pen is on the screen.
Yeah, and when you clicked, it would actually flash the whole screen slightly lighter, because it had to be able to be painting every single square on the screen.
Yeah, you had to paint.
Yeah. So it would flash for a second there as it was
Flash
trying
white,
to read
same as
where
Duck
you're-
Hunt. I mean, those of us a bit younger would probably remember, or a bit maybe my own. There was a game on Super Nintendo called on the original, sorry, not Super Nintendo, the original NES, which was called Duck Hunt, and that had a light gun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the light gun is the same thing. It had a light sensor, and then it would flash the screen white, and then based on the timing, it would know where the beam would have been. So so we say flash the screen white. What it's actually doing is just drawing the entire screen white, but just very quickly. And that's how you knew where the position of the beam was. Anyway, we'll shut up now. We're old, right? You guys talk about yourself. Right. Right. Thanks for joining us.
See you guys in 165 hours.
Yeah, indeed. And,
or in Discord or someplace in the meantime.
Yeah,
166 still. We're only 2 hours in. So
166. Yeah.
Oh, I'm
unless we have a DST transition soon, which I hope there's.
November.
There's again that Europe and the US are out of sync, so there's going to be a time when Simon thinks it's one time and the rest of us think it's some other time. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting for a while.
It'll take us a week or two to figure it out.
Sorry for the sound there. I was one of our viewers just DM'd me the Empire State thing. It's like an interactive wall exhibit.
Weird.
I mean, they're actually photos, right? So it's not. Also, this is exactly what a GPU is great for. I can't see that it's the same as rendering rectangles in a grid in necessarily a grid like that, but I mean, just asking for trouble.
All right, well, build your progress indicator and I'll check it out later.
Right, cool. and I tagged that, I think, didn't I? The question. Let's see. I thought I did. It went away. Oh, I guess I scrolled to it and highlighted it, but now that got rid of somewhere. So
which one was
to
it?
find it again. The Experian thing right here. This one. This is the task.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. All right, so we got two things. We're going to look at who also asked about the size of the client area. What was that?
And that's towards the end.
You can find that. So we'll do this one first, and then we'll look at the client area one as well.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can also have a look at that rendering the squares because maybe.
1, 1, 1, 2.
So let's see if I can get this up. So, so Jim, are you still here? Jim Dave.
Here's the Windows one. So it's Johan Sheepers.
John
Except
Sheepers.
I'll flag that so that it can be found
Flag it,
later.
please, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to the maybe the client area. The client area one might be a nice quick one whilst we find out if Dave's still here.
Okay. Dave's not here, man.
Let's do
No, man. I'm Dave. No,
Right,
that's what I'm saying.
gonna-
Dave's not here, man.
We're going to create just a blank starting file for today, and then I'll get that built, and then we can start it. 25th.
The two questions are tagged that are relevant.
Well, thank you, Randall.
That's what I do. All I know how to do is turn stars on and off in this show. That's it.
So it's a really complex job. I'm glad you're doing it.
I don't know how to answer anything. I only know how to tell jokes about stuff about when I was a kid.
When back in my day.
Actually, one thing you left out of that sequence was there were games that would read code that was displayed at the bottom of the screen in kind of a binary code, and that would affect the game as they're watching this, Saturday morning animation. Okay, but
sorry,
it's great.
You just reminded me of that. It's been a long time. Like there used to be TV series over here called Games Master, and they used to do
it was something
data
like
dump,
that.
And they would basically like put the binary data in a visual form on the screen, and then you would
yes.
What would you do? Like you play it back or you record it? It was sound? Was it? I can't remember. It's something weird like that.
I don't know.
It was sound. But you would record it onto cassette at the time. Oh.
But what's great is that these games all got broken after time because they would replay the video for the game, except that they'd speed it up by 10%, which would be dropping data frames. So it wouldn't work.
That'll do it.
Because they wanted to put more ads in, they would stretch the
so we
ad
don't,
time.
We don't actually get that's not a thing they do over here.
What, stretch ads?
No, stretch like the program out, like to or whatever. Yeah, I know that's the thing.
Yeah.
In America. Anyway, so we're going to do this one first. Let's share the screen.
We're all crafty here. We're crafty. Once we figured out we could squish video by 10%, we do it a lot.
Well, when you try to play something that's from another country that doesn't have as many ads as America, you need to squish it down to get the ads in.
Yep.
Just saying. Right.
Placeholder, my favorite widget. That should be my favorite widget. Yes.
So here is a Windows app window. Blah, 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 blah. And I've got an empty application here. We're just like, I don't know, desktop application. We've got some touch stuff. I think we just copy and pasted from last week or the week before last. So to have this start up in a certain client size, we've got a couple of options here, right? We could we could use the Dart package to capture our window handle and actually do this in Dart, inside of Dart. That'd be kind of cool. But to be honest, we don't need to do that. We can do it inside of the C++ code. We're going to do this without an editor, and we'll see if we can get to compile. But there's no reason why it shouldn't work. Just got to find out where the code is because it's been a while since I've looked into these. And also, we don't have syntax highlighting. This is hard mode.
Ooh, the old way.
Yeah, so create is handing over the size. So this size is going to be the size that Johan's just Johan is saying. So if we go to the main.cpp, when it starts up the app, here you go, 1280 by 720. So that's the window size that we actually want for our content. But what's going to happen is when it starts up, it's going to include the title bar size as part of this, and that's not what we want. So we're going to take that size that's being passed in here, and we need to update that size and then update these two values that are being passed in to include the width and height for those things, right? I seem to remember there's a just. I'm going to see if I can go find the API, because it just occurred to me that there's another API that might be better than this one. We can certainly try both. So I'm going to keep this handy. Adjust window rect ex. Hey, look, my brain somehow pulled this out of the depths of the interwebs.
I got to take a brief break. I got to take a brief break, but I'll be listening. So
okay. Adjust window rect. So calculates the required size for the window rectangle based on the desired size of the client rectangle. Exactly what we want. See, that's good. The window rectangle can be passed to create window ex function, which is basically what this calls. So this internal create window function, which I believe is an internal function down here somewhere. Oh, look. Set child content. Oh, let's see if I can get client area. Now that's interesting. What is it asking for? Let's go look. Create window. So this is how you create like a pop-up window, right? Like in Windows, right? So it wants the window class. This is create window. Where's the create window ex? How is that not like the thing that's using? This is ridiculous. All right. So create window ex, WS ex. Wow, I'm gonna put myself through it now. App window, top level window, force on taskbar when the window is visible. Yeah. Right. So the next parameter would be the window class. So I keep flipping back and forth. Let me get rid of that and make this wider. Hopefully that's big enough. I don't know. I guess I can make it bigger. There you go. So, so we've got create windows. We've got the style. Then we've got the window class. Then we've got the window name. Then we've got our DW style, which is the way DW is This is Hungarian notation. This DW stands for double word. It's 32-bit value. That's where D word comes in. Double word. WS overlapped window. Okay, then we've got scale. It scales the X by scale factor and returns XY width and height. There's XY width and height. Then we've got two null pointers for the two handles because we don't have a parent window because it's top level window, and we don't have a menu bar on top of our window. Then we get the instance handle, which is basically the instance to the running application, which is get module handle. And then we have the lparam. This is application data that can be associated to the window, and this is the pointer to the current class, so that when we get the callbacks below, wherever it is, we can then reinterpret that lparam as the data for our window. It's not that one, but yeah, it's somewhere in here.
There's a question might be related to what you're talking about right now, but it's something about the Windows soft keyboard. Is that anything you're talking about right now?
No, but hide that, and we'll come back to it in a minute.
Okay,
Let's
great.
Get back to what we're doing here. So
sure.
back up to our create window. So we've got each of our parameters here. Great. And we need to make sure that our size.width and size.height are adjusted. So we're going to make a new int window width equals size.width right now. It's interesting it does scale factor. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. We'll look at how scale factor comes into this in a minute. Window height, size.height. This is C++ code for those that are just tuning in, because we're modifying our Windows application native code, basically. All right, so if we run this now, it should still work. Let's find out. Building Windows application. Yay. Okay, next. So I actually have a neat little application here. So if I run our app again, this is an old school app. And I drag our little window thing, it's going to tell us how big the window actually is. Sorry, it's pretty tiny on there. This is telling me it's 2027 pixels by 1504. This is because it's accounting for scaling on my machine right now. So at least we might be able to use that to help debug if we've got any problems. I'll leave it to one side right now. All right, next. So we want to adjust for the non-window area, non-client area, which is the other API. There was that. It says off screen. There we go. So we want to call adjust window rectangle EX. Let's pop that in here. So this wants to take a in and out, a variable which is a rectangle, which is for in and out. So in fact, we need to have in here is a rect. We'll call it window rect equals. Now that's a question. I feel very old right now. You can't do that, but I'm just going to. Yeah, we've been. Yeah. We should be able to initialize it with. Let's go look at what rectangle is. Yeah, longs. So that should be possible, I think. We're going to find out. So left, top, right, which would be size.width. Bottom, size.height. So this is going to go into negative values because it pulls the window out because of where 0 is, but that's fine as long as we the new window width and height that we calculate is one minus the other one. The math still works out, so don't worry too much about that. So now what we want to do is when we work out our window width, it's actually going to be window rectangle dot right minus window rectangle dot left, right? And here it's going to be window rectangle dot bottom minus window rectangle dot right. Yeah, for those that are following along. And then we want to pass our window rectangle as the first parameter. If we jump back over, now this he says too many tabs. Let's close some. We're not going to use that one. We're not going to use that one anymore. Okay, so what this is saying here is it's an LP, which is a long pointer, which basically means that we want to convert this to a pointer. We can do that with an ampersand, which makes it, which is get the pointer to this local variable. And then the DW style, which matches, which is this one here. And then we want, does it have a menu, which is false? And then finally, the extended style. Sorry, the other way around. There's a flip around. So that's going to adjust this rectangle to account for the non-client area. And now that should, in theory, launch our window. Now, if we get rid of the scaling, in fact, I'm going to on purpose set the scaling factor to 1.0 so we can test this. If my C code, sorry, this is conversion from constant unsigned int to long. Are you kidding me? Is this what you're complaining around? Really? Really? I'm just going to tap this for readability.
Yeah.
So in C code, there's zero formatting. Do whatever you want. No, it's not floating point.
Yeah, still triggers.
Requires a narrowing conversion. So basically it's saying our constant value is what, 64-bit, and the longs are 32-bit. Because these are unsigned as well. There should be no problem with this. I'm guessing it's this here, but it's const.
It's a 0, right? Shouldn't matter.
I'm just wondering where it's getting const from, and is it even complaining about this? I'm assuming it is. Let's just force it with a.
What line is 140? Oh, it's the size width.
It's this. It's got to be these, but I don't know where it's getting const from there. Oh, you know what am I talking about? It's because const is different in Windows and yeah. Ignore me. Yeah, my brain is in Dart mode. So for those that are following along, what that problem was when it runs,
Yeah.
he says, but guess what? It's running, but it's not on the screen as far as I can tell, which means we probably calculate the size wrong. Yeah, okay. So what we're going to do is going to set our scale factor to 1.0 here. And I'm going to comment out the rest. This is going to make it smaller than it should do on the screen. But equally, I have a feeling. Oh, he says, if it'll let me.
If only.
DPI is not referenced. Yes, it's not referenced. Why is that even a thing? Target point. Yeah, so they're doing the yeah, we'll do it that way. It's the same difference, kind of.
Static cast. Wow.
C++, right? So doing the normal cast is basically a truncation. Doing a static cast means that the you can apply the specific C++ overrides between casting between objects. So if you have cast operator overloads, they'll run, and therefore you don't necessarily just truncate the content. So you can do something better. Come on. This is supposedly running, but obviously I've done this wrong, right? So let's just say I can't even just print them out. Such a I really just want to dump out the contents of these variables, and I don't really have a debugger set up, and I don't really want to go down this route. This is just super annoying. Should we just do it? Let's do it. Yes, we can do it. Right. Let's first of all let's test this idea I've got, and if I put 100 in here, or 200, should we say 200, 200? Let's see what we get. This is how not to do this. Ideally, what you'd be doing is opening up this code in like Visual Studio, or add C++ editing to your application. So there's a little window that's popped up here. It's actually too small. So that's me hard coding it. So basically what's happened here is the value that we've got out of window rect is actually not the right value. Oh, guess what? I just didn't anyone tell me. I just typed it wrong. Top. That's going to be it. That's going to be a difference, isn't it? Let's see if that makes a difference. Right, top, bottom, top. Let's have a look. Hey, that's what I was looking for. And if I highlight it, what is that size? Well, it's going to show a different size. Oh, there you go. Client size. You can't see that tiny number. It says 1280 by 720. Yes, this is what we're looking for, right? Which basically means the size the window was created matches the pixel sizes that I put in. So now we've done that, we can put our scaling back on. Bless you. If we put our scaling back on, the window will now be larger, but it'll still be in the ratio of 1280 by 720. So, all right, there you go. So now it's scaled correctly for my monitor scaling factor, but it's still in the 1280 by 720. So if we display something that's like that, it's still going to display correctly. Because the contents of the rendering is also scaled. So, okay, so coming back to this. So it was Johann Schaper, was it? I can't remember his name. Sorry, Johann. So yeah, so what we've done is we've added window rect, the adjust window rectangle, and then we adjusted the create window X to use the extended style as well. You could use it with create window and the other one that we saw, the other function. There's another version without the EX. That would also work. I think that's it. Yeah, and then we're passing the values across. It's not too difficult, I guess. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to post this. Yeah, I was just thinking that. I'll post this. I'm I'm just going to post this little bit here to adjust. And then we get on with some custom painting.
Yay.
And back to some actual Dart stuff. I was, by the way, the reason why I wanted to, I actually meant to do this a while ago on another project, and I think that this is kind of how you expect it to work. I may talk to the Flutter team about making this adjustment as part of the template, because that would make sense. Right, this is Win32 window.cpp, and we'll just say this is a Flutter. What do we call it? Windows desktop line area adjustment. And today is 25th September 2024. And I'm sure there's a link to the stream that I'll put on there as well. So people want to see how he made it, they can come back. Right. Right, public gist. Done. There you go. John, Johan, sorry, I keep saying John. Sorry, Johan. It is Johan, right? Johan Sheepers. Johan, there you go. So there's that code. So hopefully that will take you to the right place where you want to go and get what you need. Right. Back to
we have the Windows soft keyboard question we can answer quickly if you can do that.
Sure, I guess.
And then we can actually do the coding. So any way to hide the Windows soft keyboard, because apparently focus unfocused doesn't.
Yeah, so so it hides the keyboard, but when you navigate to another page or show a dialog, it pops up. It's because those other dialogues are requesting the focus again.
Yeah.
It's probably look at your focus manager settings. So your focus manager is probably set to desktop and not to touch, and that's what's probably causing you a problem. So let's have a quick look in here actually. So focus manager, so basically mode, highlight mode, that's the one. Set highlight mode. How do we do this? I've forgotten where it is. It's been a while. Mode. Highlight mode equals focus highlight mode dot touch. Right. That one line, if it was actually let me set it, which apparently it doesn't. So we're going to find out how we set it. Hang on. Add highlight mode listener. Highlight strategy. Get.
Is strategy higher or lower than a mode?
I know, right? I was thinking that as well. Always touch, always traditional, automatic sets the strategy for highlight mode to be determined. Okay, so we set the highlight strategy apparently. So the highlight strategy is the request. Highlight mode is what comes out of it, and we want to say always touch. Okay, free entertaining. Right, put this one line. I'm going to copy and paste it at the beginning in your main function inside of your Flutter application, and then shut it down completely, and then start it back up and see if you still get the same problem with the focus jumping around. I have a feeling you're not going to get the soft. Maybe it's always okay. Look, I may have got this backwards. It might be always traditional, not always touch. I don't know. Go take a look. I think it might be always traditional now. I say that. Anyway, but the point here is that instead of it trying to automatically detect that when on desktop, you've got a soft keyboard, which is not the normal, which would put it into touch mode. That means the focus might be moving on for you, whereas if you put traditional mode, it's not going to move. It's how it handles.
Why isn't the default correct though? Isn't that a bug?
Well, potentially. I just want to see what happens. I'm assuming this is the problem. I don't know if it is, right?
Okay.
I would go also say that you could have you tried calling the hide soft keyboard method. So Oh dear, where is it? It's there's literally soft what's it called? So sorry, it's been a while since I looked at this stuff. We're gonna go hunting. We're gonna go hunting through some internal workings of Flutter. So system channels are how Flutter communicates with the embedder engine that's read the shell that's running your embedder. So in this case, like navigation, push and pop, all that jazz, back gesture, whatever it might be. And one of these is input something, I think, if I remember right. Process text platform, text input to JSON connection close. This would be the one. So text input and text input client. I seem to remember. Come on. Instance request focus, instance show, control show. Where's the implementation? Why you put this mix in on? Like text input is mentioned everywhere. Services binding. Show. Right, I'm seeing channel platform. I swear. Hide. Okay, yeah. That one. And this channel is what? This is instant text input channel. Oh, come on, give me a break. This should be. Sorry, let me get rid of that. Text input. Instance. New channel. Set channel. Yeah, text input. Okay, so system channels.text input. All right, so I'm going to add you this one. This is a little hacky. This is not officially supported by the Flutter team. Just saying. Anyway, but you can do this. So there you go. I'm going to copy this line as well. So what this is going to do is it's basically going to invoke the text input plugin as part of the shell and tell it to hide the soft keyboard. It's basically a way of saying directly just hide the soft keyboard input. This does not change the state of your Flutter application. It does not know that it lost focus. It's just you go straight to the thing. This could break things. I'm just saying, but maybe that helps solve your problem, and that's where we're going to leave it.
This is like steering by reaching out and grabbing your tire.
Yeah, right. It is literally that. Yeah. Like that.
By the way, you should probably give the normal disclaimer that we are not part of the Flutter team. We do not work for Google. We are just enthusiasts.
We are idiots on the internet.
Yes, right. And just popped up in another window while I'm trying to stay focused on this. Doesn't matter. I still have pop-up windows that are coming at me all the time. Did you know that gist.new creates a new gist without having to type a lot of stuff?
I did not know that. That is.
Check that out. Check that out. Just type gist.new in your browser.
Yeah. No, not right now. Let's.
Okay. All right.
Let's go. We should try it out. Right,
but this is what we can tell other people now.
Definitely. We'll test it out and do it. Right. Okay. So client area done. Experian. So someone. Where's that question?
That back. A second. It started, so I just need to come back to it. There we go.
So I'm going to get rid of those other ones. Right. So this one was. Let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the best way to create custom loading indicator in a semicircle with segments of different colors, similar to Experian score dial? Can search Google custom painter. Right. So for the people at home that are joining us now, this is the Experian things, indicators, right? So
Woohoo.
you maybe kind of got a progress indicator, maybe like this,
Yeah.
or maybe like this. I don't know. Like, do you want like 0 to 100 and it fills up like that? Like, Jim, are you here? Please sound off if you're here. Otherwise, I guess, I mean, like the way he describes it is a semicircle segments of different colors, which is this one here, right?
Yeah. Oh, I think you mean the one that looks like
so
a flame risk meter for
Which one?
campfires. The one
Which-
that
what?
the one on the upper right of that screen.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. that one.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
couldn't tell from what you said. This one, it was kind of weird.
Oh, sorry, it's the one that's highlighted in the browser.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. I couldn't tell.
That's fine.
It was
It's not very clear on the dark mode. Anyway, right.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's do that, right? So, so first of all, we're gonna draw our full progress indicator, like so we get like the layout and structure of it in place. Then we then take that and convert it into a parameterized widget, right? And then we can then see how our parameters affect the progress, right? And how it's displayed. So first things first, we want to we're going to use a we're going to run the app first of all. That'd be good. Here we go. And we're going to what's that? Right, that'll do. Is that in view for everyone? Hopefully. Right. So we're going to get rid of that placeholder and we're going to replace it with a center, and we're going to have a aspect ratio. The original looks like almost like a 2:1, 0.5. Is that right? I think it's something like that. And then inside that, we want a custom paint. Right. So this is us just providing some bounds for us to test with, right? Then custom paint, you can provide a size, but then you obviously need to know like that's a fixed size, so not so good. And we can even wrap this in a padding to pull it away from like the edges, maybe like that.
Yeah.
So now we kind of got our custom paint in the position and size that we want. We want to make sure that it's actually given a painter. So this is the delegate that actually does the work, right? So let's go into here. It's a custom painter. And so we're going to say class. We'll call this one calls progress indicator painter. No.
My painter. I always call him my painter.
Yeah.
I get a lot of those in my app, so it's always my painter.
Pi progress.
Pi progress.
Painter.
We're making Pi progress now.
Right. So now we've got this Pi progress indicator. It's going to complain that it needs the 2 overrides. And I'm going to make a constructor for this while we're here. Now, should repaint, the idea of should repaint is to say if the input parameters change, this is basically, let me explain. The should repaint runs every time build is run. If the widget already exists, it passes the parameters over of the other custom painter instance over to, the old one over to the new one. And then it basically says, you were meant to reply back with, yes, the parameters are different, so you need to repaint it, right? Otherwise, it won't bother, and that way it's optimal. So that way paint can run multiple times, and it doesn't have to repaint all the time, right? Build can run multiple times, it doesn't have to repaint. So at the moment, we're going to say return true. I want it to always repaint, right? But then we'll need to turn that off to false, otherwise this is very inefficient, right? So we'll leave it as return true for the minute. This way we can debug with it. And we're going to instantiate a copy of our Pi progress painter. And this is complaining because it's not constant. That's fine.
I would also, in my development, I would include a print with that says, fix this, so that you would keep seeing that in the log.
Yeah. I would do this. I did fix me.
That fix me too. Also,
implement checks.
Yep.
Right.
Cool.
Okay. So now we've got a paint method, what we want to do is take our canvas, which is our surface that we're painting onto, just like a painter's canvas, and we want to draw. We're going to draw a rectangle. And a rectangle, there's a you might have seen this in that other concept it was looked at earlier. There's a quick way of doing a rectangle. You take an offset, and then so we're going to take the 0 offset, and we're going to ampersand it or and it with the size. What this is doing, if you go look at offset, I think it's offset base. It overrides an operator's things less than, equal to, greater than. It won't be base because it's trying to just hate me right now. The offset widget, where is it? Yeah, minus, plus, multiply, divide. And one of these, ampersand. There you go. And what this is doing is this operator override means that if you pass in a size to the right-hand side, it returns a rectangle to the left. And this just basically runs this function for you. So it's a little handy expression, which basically means an offset and a size makes a rectangle. So that's really handy one to know. And then it wants us to pass a paint. A paint is like the paintbrush or the thing that you're filling the rectangle with. So you can create just a paint instance and pass it. Obviously, it's not going to do anything. We need to set color. I'm going to set that color to, we're going to do red right now. Colors.red. By default, there's a style attached to it. And it is set to fill by default, but I always like to specify that. It makes 0 difference. It just means that you can see I'm filling red, right? All right, so if I restart the app, we should get a red box. Great. I put it the wrong way around. It's actually, we want, what, 1.5? Hang on a minute. That doesn't look right either. Is it?
Maybe it's
maybe my ratios are just off, like in terms of what I thought it was.
that's closer to square.
That looks like that looks closer to what I'm seeing. So I got another monitor here.
You could do 16 divided by 9.
Oh, what, make it like widescreen? Yeah. 16. That's a 17778.
No, you just do 16/9.
No. I'm just saying that the output is 1.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
So if anyone didn't know, it's 1.7888 recurring, I think it is.
The great thing about writing it that way, though, is that that's width and height automatically too.
Yeah.
So
also,
oh, you gotta do floating point. Oh yeah, I guess you have to, otherwise it's integer divided.
Well, it would. That's the thing. I think this is the problem I hate. Like it basically it would actually do a floating point divide, but you don't know that from the outset because you don't know that the input parameter is a double, right? So it infers a double on the constant expression for you before it does the division. It's quite clever.
Yeah,
it is definitely doing a double divide, but I don't like it. This tells me it's doing a double divide by seeing them at doubles, right? Like that's why I prefer to represent widths and heights as doubles.
I remember when that change came along in Dart, and I was like, I don't know if I'm really happy with that, but it did make a lot of basic Flutter layouts easier to write, which is fun.
So I want to just show something to some people here. If we take an offset and say it's 0, 0, right? That's what we had before. Now, if I say negative, say 100, right? Guess what happens? It moves up. Now, what's interesting about this is the widget. If I turn on the debug boundaries for the widget, if this will work, let's find out. Right? That one.
Live
there you go. So, do you see how it thinks the widget should be here? Right, you can see the arrows point to where the widget should be centered. However, I've moved the painting of the widget up. This is because widgets are not clipped by default on Flutter, right? This is an optimization. It also means you actually get some really nice effects that you can do. So you can clip it if you want to, but you don't. You just paint it in the right place. I just want to let you know that that's the thing. Every widget is painted to the same surface or layer. And makes a picture display list. This is how the render stuff. So I won't go into it right now. Anyway, so there. So now it's in the right place. All right, let's turn off those boundings. Go away. Are you telling me you're stuck on? Stop. That's not funny. He's not. What's going on? I can't press the button. Button doesn't do anything.
Mm.
Yeah. I'm just going to restart it because, yeah. Right. All right. So now we can do some painting. So what we want to do is we want to calculate. So I'm going to see if I can get this. 1 second. All right. I'm going to bring this on the screen so that we've got like a reference point because it's
Oh, cool.
so we can all see like what we're trying to build. Right. There you go. So let's move this back over here. Cool. So bottom is what we're trying to replicate. Top is where we're going to go, where we're seeing it. So, okay, so we've got a red rectangle. This is just a placeholder. Let's make it white to match what's below. There you go. Now, on said rectangle, we want to work out the position of the center of our semicircle, right? And this is how we're going to do drawing. So effectively, what we want to do is calculate the bottom center. We're going to do this right to the edge of the widget, and then it's up to the user of the indicator to put a padding widget around it if they want padding. Obviously, the image has padding. We're not going to include that, right? So canvas dot. So there's a draw arc. This allows you to draw a portion of an arc. We actually kind of want to build paths though. So an arc is just one portion of this, and we certainly need to clip off the center. So we need to work out basically the border of each of the segments. Yeah, I think that's probably like easier right now. Or okay, so there's a trick to this, right? I'm going to show you. I'm going to explain this because there's probably some things you've probably seen like this that are well, ways you can think about doing this. So what we could do is paint the red, orange, yellow, green segments as full sort of triangular pieces without the center bit. This I'm talking about this center bit, the bottom cut out, and then we paint a white circle over the top. And what you're doing is simulating the fact that it's cut out. However, if this is then on a transparent background, you're going to have a white circle there, and you can't put it on like a texture background because that wouldn't work either. So actually, you do want to clip out that bit because it just wouldn't work in as a widget in all scenarios that you maybe want to use it in. So we're going to do draw arc, right, to begin with, and now we're going to do the same rectangle. So we're going to take this out here and say final. Let's bring that rectangle out. So we're going to fill it, and then on top of that rectangle, at the start angle, 0, sweep angle. Now, these in radians or degrees? Probably radians, right? Yeah, radians. So 0 and math.pi. Let's import math.
It should just know pi. Really, it's stupid to keep having you import Dart math.
Use center. Interesting. I don't remember. Let's call this fill paint. Oops. Background paint. And then we're going to create another paint. Fill paint. And this is going to be red. Okay. What does use center do? Okay, draws an arc scale to fit inside the given rectangle, starts from the start angle for radians to the oval up to the start plus sweep, with 0 radians being on the right-hand side of the oval. It crosses the horizontal line, intersects with the center of the rectangle. Positive angles go clockwise. Use center is true. The arc is closed back to the center, forming a circle sector. Otherwise, the arc is not closed. So actually, this might be cool to use this kind of thing. Let's say true, and let's see what we get. And then, oh yeah, fill paint, so we can see it. Hey, look at
that. You got something like an arc.
So, so first of all, I have a feeling we do not want a 16 by 9, right? We want a, what do we want? That's a good question. I guess if we were to take the width and height, hang on, I want half of that, which would be 1.5, right? And then, no, hang on. Doesn't seem like it, but yeah, no, that's what we want. And then down here, there are our rectangle. So obviously the rectangle at the moment, it's using the rectangle as the full circle. We actually want to take the rectangle as a proportion, as a double height rectangle, if you will, to get half of the circle, right? So we're going to create a new rectangle, and we'll call it dial. I think is maybe dial rect. You know, so we want this to be actually size. Size, and it'll be width is going to be size.width. Then height, it'll be size.height multiplied by 2. Let's put that directors in here and see what we get. Okay, now we can change our start angle to math.pi and math.pi times 2. Oh no, it wants the sweep angle, so it's math.pi. There you go. Okay, so we're getting there. That's half our semicircle. Our size is not right though. I am.
The problem with Custom Painter is it's very flexible.
No, that's what I want. That's what I want. 2.0. Right. Okay.
It's a lot of math. A lot of math sometimes.
Okay, so you may need to climb the actual gauge within a square with the shortest side of the available size. That's one way of doing it. But then here's the thing, Verdi. Do that. What you're doing is you're putting that onus on the paint routine to size it. Rather, you can do that on the outside. Then you can choose to size it and shape it however you want. Right?
Yeah.
So this gives us a bit more flexibility by doing it this way. But I appreciate what you're saying. Okay, so here's the area. Well, this is great, but again, really, even if we were to have like the sweep angle of pi divided by 4, right? Of this, right? Great. Well, how are we getting our spacing? How are we getting our cutout at the bottom? We need to do that, right? Okay. So let's leave our semicircle in here, and we're going to put this as gray, just as a maybe a lighter gray than that. Oh, too light. Yeah, that'll do. Just so that we've kind of got a shadow here of where we're trying to fill. All right. So, and we'll get rid of it later, right? So another thing you can do is called a path, right? So we'll call it section path. We can use canvas.draw path, and we pass in our path, and then we can pass a paint. So I'm going to make another paint, call it section paint. This is going to be red. Pass across. Now, if I run this, guess what? We get nothing because our path is empty, right? However, we can add stuff to our path. So now we can say section path dot add arc, add oval, right? Now this is where the tricksy things come in, right? Are we ready for this? Right? Pay attention, right? So add arc. So we can now add an arc that is very similar to what we've got here. We can take our dial rectangle, math.pi divided by 4 for our section, right? And then what we want to do is close that path. Okay, so we've got the arc, but what it hasn't done is taken us down to the center, right? So section.path, add line, or move to, line 2, sorry. And it wants to know the X and Y. So this is going to be dial rect.center.x, dial rect dot center dot y. Okay, let's dy. Sorry. Yeah. There you go. So now we've got a section of our pipe. Great. Now here's the thing. What we want to do is cut out a portion of this, and we also want to reduce the shape of the reduce the size of the arc, right? So first of all, let's do the cutout, and then we'll talk about the padding and reduction in a minute, right? One step at a time, right? So first of all, so now we know how we want to do an arc, and we can do a different proportion of that arc, and we can do this in a loop. So I think if we do this in a loop 4 times over different colors, then we're gonna get our sections, right? So we'll call it section colors, and we're gonna say colors.red, colors dot. It's like an orange, isn't it? Like a deep orange. Colors dot amber. Colors dot. There's a couple of different greens, isn't there? I feel like there's a pale green kind of. It's more like the light green. Colors dot green. That looks good. Maybe there's obviously we can just do our own colors. We don't have to do these. Lime. I think lime might be better. Yeah. All right. So now we've got section colors. We can create a for loop. And we say for final. We really want for the math, right? It's better for us to have an index. So we'll say, well, section colors dot length I++, and we can say final color equals section color equals section colors I, right? And then inside of that, we're going to do this whole thing, right? Pop it in there. All right, so now we want to build a paint, and that's going to use our section color. So actually, we don't need to use section color anywhere else, so we'll pop it in there. And then our math.py would be math.py. So let's divide it up into section angle. So section angle is math.py divided by section colors.length. So this is going to give us math.py is essentially 180 degrees, or half the circle. We're going to divide that by a number of segments. That's going to give us an angle for the section. So our starting angle is going to be math.py plus section angle times I. And our end angle is going to be math.py plus section angle plus 1. I plus 1, right? There you go. So
you'll need a little bit of minus for the gap, right?
Yeah, we'll sort that out in a minute. I want to keep this straightforward. I have screwed up. But
Yeah,
because I've got math.py there.
That's very sick, Pac-Man. Oh, look at that. That's pretty good.
So that's getting better. Why the hell have I got all this over here, though?
That's weird.
Yeah, exactly. Which probably means they're all over there, which is also kind of like screwing my brain up right now. Start angle, sure. Times I plus 1. Yeah, what's wrong with that?
You don't have math pi.
Oh, sweep angle. No, it's me. Sweep angle is always the same. In a minute. There you go. Right. So the sweep angle is basically width, or how much it should go for, not the end.
Yeah, looking better.
So looking better. Thank you very much. Right. So now how do we get the negative space in the center? Right. That's the next thing. So we do a bit of what's called path combinations, right? So we're going to get our section path, and then we want to make a clip path, and then the path that we actually draw is one minus the other one, right? So first of all, we're going to say clip. We'll call it clip path.
Oh, like path math.
Yeah. So add oval. There's no add circle because you just make the rectangle that you pass to add oval be a square, and it's a rectangle, right? It's a circle that you get out of it. So this will be what we want is a new rectangle from the center point of our last rectangle with a proportional width and height, right? So just say rect from circle. How about that? Radius. That sounds like a better idea. So from circle, or for circle, should we say? So we want the center and then radius, right? In fact, it just does that times 2, but whatever. So center, we want to be our dial rectangle center again. And then our radius is going to be proportionally something of our dial rectangle's shortest dimension, largest dimension, largest dimension because it's square, yeah. So longest side, and then we'll say what, 10%? Right, sounds good. Let's have a look. All right, well, that's not going to help. So let's draw the clip rect. Let's draw the clip rect on top as white on purpose right now, just as a test. Right, this is not how you do this. So this is showing you how you don't do it. There you go. So you can see the point. Like you can do the subtraction, but now, okay, we'd clip it and it would look the same as the bottom one, but actually it's a circle that you're painting on top, right? We want to negate that circle off of the pie sections behind. So,
Yeah.
So what we do here is we want to, when we go to draw out path, you can do path dot, I think it's combine. Oh, look, it's coming back to me. And we combine the two paths. So we want to find section path and clip path. And we want to find a particular intersection of the two. And I always get these mixed up. So we're going to just do a bit of hacky practice here. So path operation, there'll be several different operations here. Difference, X, or union. So it would be difference. Hey, look, I did it. There you go. First time.
Wow.
Right. So the gray that you're seeing behind is from the painting behind. So if I get rid of that gray, what you're actually going to see here. So where is it? Draw rect. Yeah, is this draw arc. If we now get rid of that draw arc, now it's white because we got the draw rectangle behind. Now, if I get rid of that draw rectangle, ta-da, right?
Wow.
So now it's transparent. And we're going to put the white back in there because it contrasts quite well.
Yep.
All right, and we need to. It's nice to know the borders whilst we're developing this, right?
Right.
So what we now need to do is reduce the size of our paths. Can we do that? I feel like we can, but we're going to find out. Also, this is it's getting a bit wordy now, so we can actually make this a little bit nicer. So path dot add arc dot line 2 dot close, and the close might be optional. You have like auto closing paths. I'm going to leave it in there because it probably makes more sense right now. So our section path, I'm going to take that. I'm going to pop that in here. And
I
then
thought something entirely differently when you said close optional.
Okay.
Okay.
And there's our oval. I think, yeah. Oh, there's our clip path. All right. So now it's the same thing, but now it's just in sort of one combinational kind of structure. Now, if we take our path combine out and we say this is a pi path, right? No bomb. And we're painting pi path. I have messed up my brackets, but it's okay. There you go. Okay, so this is exactly the same thing. We just restructured it slightly. So restart it, and we're going to get exactly the same result, right? No worries. All right, so now what we want to do is try and reduce this path. I have a feeling that there's a, maybe me thinking about a different library. I have a feeling that there's a reduce.
There's a shrink rectangle.
Yeah, what?
There's a shrink rectangle if you want to get a slightly smaller rect, but I don't think you're using rects. So I don't know.
No, there's a transform.
Oh,
I think we can transform with a scale, and that'll do exactly what we want. But we need to the matrix needs to be centered on the center point of the shape.
Ugh.
Yeah. Let me see. feel like, see, the only other way to do this is to actually work out. We could work out how the remove. Hang on, let me think about this. We could take the sweep angles and adjust the sweep angles when we build the shapes to not have to have a certain amount of gap between them. That's probably easier than reducing the path anyway, unless
yeah, definitely.
So I think we'll do that. All right, so we're going to get rid of that. All right, so what I'm just saying there is when we work out this sweep angle and start angle, we just adjust for an extra bit for the padding, right? So we need to work out what amount of padding and angle we want. So padding angle, right? So again, math.py. Well, we got section angle. So we know how many sections. So hang on, let's look at the gaps. So we got 4 gaps. 1, 2, yeah, 4 gaps.
Take section angle times the constant, because then you're going to know relative. Let it do the calculations for that way that if the number of sections changes, it's not going to mess up with math.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I was going to do. But I'm just looking at like we want to do 1 less than the section length, right?
Right, because there's less paddings. Oh,
yeah,
right.
There's 1 less padding than the number of sections, right?
Okay.
So we want to calculate the total. So we need to calculate what that amount is.
Math pi divided by section colors length minus
and then
1.
remove and then divide. Yeah, okay. So sorry, we want to count the. Okay, there's 2 numbers here. We've got total padding angle, right? Which is going to be math.py divided by section colors dot length minus 1. Yeah, and then we don't want this to go into negatives. Well, yeah, okay, we'll clamp it. Clamp between 0 and section colors dot length. Actually, no, let's not do clamp. We'll do math dot max 0 or this. This is just so it doesn't go into negative, if anyone's wondering, because if there's no section colors, let's say we parameterize the section color, there's none, well then the end result of that is going to be -1, and that's not good. So we'll want that to be 0 basically. All right, so we want to divide it by this and then multiply it by a fractional amount. So we say like 10% of the pi of each individual pi is the padding. That sounds reasonable right now.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking again.
Everything about this. Let me make sure if I got this math right. So 180 degrees, and we divide it by the number of paddings, get 10% of that. That tells us the amount for one individual unit. Oh, do you know what we could do? Oh, I'm an idiot. Do you know what we could do? We could say what the padding is calculated as a fractional amount of 180 degrees. So you just say math.py times 0.1. So 10% of 180 degrees is used for padding overall. And then you just divide that by section length -1.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, it depends on what input we want for padding. I think this is fine for now. This is actually section padding now, right?
You could probably just make it 0.02 and it would probably come out pretty.
Yeah, well, we can fit around with this. So now we've got section. Now we've got section padding. We want to say the section angle is going to be, or the total section available angle. Whatever. Available angle is going to be math.py. Actually, no, it'd be minus this. Minus this, is that right? I don't know. It sounds about right. I have a feeling this is going to go terribly wrong, but we'll play around with some of this in a minute. Definitely, I mean that would work, but right. Okay, so if we run this now, yes, we're short. Now what we do is we say math.py plus this plus section padding times I. Let's see. Well, it could be worse.
It's not bad.
Not bad, but it could be worse. So we found a flaw with our plan. You know what our flaw is? Our flaw is
They drew straight rectangles in their diagram.
Yes.
And we're drawing sections.
Yes, exactly.
That's tough.
I think we're going to go back to reduction and scale.
Oh,
But then it doesn't work either.
why don't you start with this and get the indicator working, and then that way we can stop with that if that's the best we can get, and then come back and revisit.
Let's just fix this. Why are we one? We're too much in one direction. Why are we too much in one direction?
Oh yeah. What the hell happened there?
I thought we accounted for the negative one, but I didn't do much. My math is off.
And of course, -1 reminds me of the IT crowd, but that's another story. -1.
I know that. I remember that. That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, what's going on there? That's weird. Oh, you're adding section pi times I to start angle.
Yeah, but I mean, like it's the starting point, right? So the section angle is going to remain. That's correct. With a line from the center to the outside with a bigger stroke wide, and then subtract that as well. That's what I was thinking of doing. So that's another thing we could do. But again, like it then throws it off because you're actually doing. You need to do half the width on either side, but we want the bottom two. This is the weird thing, Christian. We want the bottom. It's funny, like when you start going down to the details of rendering, you're like, oh wow, this is more complicated, right? We want the red and the green ones to be flat against the bottom edge and have no padding, right? No inset. So it's not like a stroke all the way around the shape. What we're trying to do is exclude portions of many paths right now. So effectively we want to subtract the left and right hand side paddings of each of the segments off of the segment itself, if we want to do it that way. This is other ways of doing it. Anyway, let's not to worry too much.
It's got to be enough to get the indicator in there.
I mean, we can do that. I'm just pissed me off that this is simple math and another stuff. Let me put this back. Let me just put this back. Right. So let's take number of sections -1 gives us how many.
It's simple until it doesn't work.
Exactly, right. Section angle. See, what I was originally thinking, and in terms of rounding, is taking math.py minus the overall section padding, right? So all section padding, right, which is going to be something like 10%. We could say final all section padding is math.py times 0.1, right? And then you're then taking all section padding and just dividing it by the number of sections. Make that constant, sure. I'll make it constant fine. There you go. That worked. Ta-da! Math. Right.
Yes.
I mean, it's still not like exactly the one. We'll come back to the reason why it's so. For those that don't really, obviously we're reducing the angle, so the smaller inside circle is going to be a smaller angle, relative angle to the outside. Anyway, right. So let's just not worry about that. Let's get the indicator in there. And we can even get some. We can even look again text in there if people are interested. Right. So first thing, indicator. So we're going to parameterize these section colors coming in, and well, let's put the indicator in, and then we can then parameterize things. That's a better idea. So
yep.
Right. Yeah, so indicator, let's go to draw that. So canvas, draw path, and paint. And we'll have a indicator path. And set indicator path. Well, let's think about the shape that we're trying to do. So again, we want to make a.
Ooh.
It's interesting actually that also the image shows the indicator is not actually in the center. So this actual, it's not going to pivot, is it, around the correct center point?
You're right.
I think this is an artist's image. They're not actually a functional widget, right? Like,
oh, right. It's possible.
so we're not going to have it exactly like this because it doesn't make sense.
Somebody just pulled up MS Paint and just painted 6 of these or 5 of these.
We want to add an arc and a line to kind of, do we care about the arc if it's off the bottom screen? We could just add 2 lines and close the shape and be done. That sounds like a good idea, Simon.
Okay.
All right. So we need to move out. So the path, when you're drawing a path, you eventually have like an invisible cursor, and you can move it to a point and start drawing lines or circles or whatever shapes relative to that position, or absolute anywhere. So we're going to do like some particular movements here. Sometimes it's easier to use move to or line to as appropriate. So first of all, we want to calculate this top point of our indicator. So we're going to reduce down into the shape by a certain amount, and to work out where this position is based on maybe the progress itself. So we'll have const progress right now is 0.5. Now, Randall, do you remember this? Wasn't it this one?
From direction. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Doing polar direction.
So this is doing math.cosine and math.sine, which you're just doing the function anyway, but this is like a nice way of dealing with it.
Yep.
So what we want to do is our direction and distance. So that's a good point. So what is
going to be adding half of the sector in there? So it's going to be 1.5 times the angle. 2.5.
Okay, so direction is radians in clockwise. So we're going to have math.pi times progress, right? And then the distance away from that is going to be math dot it'd be the shortest. Yeah, the shortest. So this would be, well, we're using direct dot shortest side minus, we'll use the section padding as our padding as well.
Okay.
All right, so now we've got an offset. This offset is relative to 0, 0. We want to move this position relative to the center bottom, the center of the dial rectangle. So it's always going to be dial rect dot center plus this. So now we've got an offset. This is giving us we've got 2 points. Center is down here, and then the offset is up here, right, relative to that. This is the absolute position. So if we now make an indicator shape, which is, say, move to, so we're using center quite often, direct.center. So what we can actually do is to store that because it's a calculated value. So we'll say dial rect center. Because if you go look at center, it actually calculates an offset each time. This saves us a few cycles.
Yeah, exactly.
So here, for example, we don't have to recalculate that each time. You have to be here and down here as well. Where are we? So here it can be dx, dy. This is going to create a line right now. So we actually need to move to the left slightly. So we're going to say indicator path. So this is going to move Yeah, so we want X minus section padding. Just continues in that. This is going to be fat. This is going to be a fat arrow right now. Well, there's actually multiplied 0.5. Yeah, that'll do. Right, so we're basically moving to again. So Dart's rect center is this point here, the bottom center. We're going to move slightly to the left by half the section padding, and then we're going to move up. We're going to draw a line up to the top of this position. So now that's what we're doing next. So it's indicator path dot line 2, then we're on the X and Y. So now we've got this offset here. We can say, let's put this in here and say, was it indicator extent? That sounds like a nice name. So line 2. So it's going to be the dial rect center dx. And then the Y is it'll always be 2 values actually. So we'll do both here, dy and okay, dx. So we're adding dy. Let's put this back in a line just to. There we go. So format it. So basically we're saying the center point plus the extent, which takes us up to this point. And then finally we want to move one more line back down to make it a triangle to the right-hand side. We could do an arc to join it back up again, but we don't need to. So we're going to take this value, pop in here. And I'll show you a nicer way of doing this in a second as well, actually. But anyway, so this is going to be plus. All right, so let's see what happens. Restart. Ah,
Nothing.
our shape
Did
is
you
not
close?
there.
Did you close the shape?
I can close the shape. We shouldn't need to, but we'll do that just in case. All right, our numbers are wrong somewhere. All right, let's say
probably drawing it on somebody else's machine now.
Right.
What's this indicator showing up for?
Let's do 0.
Missed it by that much.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Shortest side minus section padding, which is the distance. Yeah. Times direction, which would be your radians angle. Hang a minute. We're talking about 0 being here. Why do I have a feeling it's... Why do I have a feeling that this is... Hang on. No, it's not that. I believe this is paint heaven. Yeah.
I believe it's more to paint hell.
Yeah, exactly. This is interesting, right? So,
wrong
all right.
direction.
So we've got draw path, indicate path. This is fine. Let's simplify and make a rectangle at direct center. Let's do that first of all. So we're going to comment this out, and we're going to say indicator path at add rect. Actually, we can actually do. In fact, we'll simplify this. We'll say canvas.draw point. Draw point. Draw raw points. Draw a circle. There you go. Draw a circle at the center rectangle at a certain radius. We'll say section padding with paint. Colors dot blue because we don't have blue. This is just like a bit of debugging, right? So we're going to work out where is our center rectangle first of all. Where's our direct center? Interesting. Apparently, it's not where we thought it was. What is going on? I'm feeling. I'm feeling like confused, very confused right now. Oh, hang on a minute. Padding's in. Oh, guess what?
What?
I'm an idiot. That's what.
Oh,
So
no,
section
really?
padding. Section padding. This is what you get. This is what you get. So this is section padding angle.
Oh.
Now do you realize what went wrong? So we've just done a very small fractional amount, of course, which is teeny tiny. So not actually a number of pixels. So let's use what we're going to do instead is do
I tell you, we're gonna end up with just hard coding 0.02 in there or something.
indicator
Yeah.
size is going to be dial rect dot shortest side. What? Direct dot. How is that not what? Oh, it's kind of really right. Anyway, at times 0.1. Yeah, 10% of. Right. Let's try this now. Hey.
Hey,
Okay.
you got a big blue dot.
So we're going to do 1/4 of that.
A little blue
Sure.
dot.
Now, so there's our center point. That's a good test, right? So now we're going to
Yeah.
take that point and we're going to calculate our indicator extent. Move that up here based on the progress. And we're going to pop that in here. And that's not where we expect it to be. Okay. Because it's off screen somewhere. What is going on? I've done it again. Short side minus the indicator size. Is it not? Okay, let's do 0. Okay, and 1 unit. Okay, let's do 20 units. 100 units. Right, I'm just going to put a thing there right now. And then the angle of progress. Okay, 0.5 there. So this is math.pi times 2 times progress. That'll be going in reverse. Math.pi plus math.pi. Right, let's get this right. Good, it's in the same position. But if I now change this to 2.5, 25% through. And if we change it to 7.5, 75% through.
Looks
Cool.
good. Ship it.
All right. Now, why is this? Where is this distance coming from? So dial rectangle dot shortest side. Why is that out of screen? Size dot shortest side.
Yeah.
Oh, because it's a square. It's half of it. All right, so it's dial rectangle dot shortest size at times 0.5 times minus indicator size. There we go. And we'll multiply that by like 4. 3. Sure, about there. Right. So, okay. So we got some positions. Sorry, this is all fractional because we wanted to change and scale based on the size of the widget without putting actual pixel values in because that's bad. Right.
Right.
Okay. So now we've got our circle point. Now what's going to happen is if we remove that, should we see if we can get our shape correct? Let's find out if we got a shape, an indicator shape. Right. So minus indicator size. All right. Hey. Okay, that's better. Let's make it fatter. There we go. And I kind of want like a dark gray, maybe. No, 900. Right. All right. So now what we should be able to do is change our progress indicator to a different position. There you go.
Wow.
Moves. So we're getting there. We're getting there. So, all right. So let's take these parameters now. Let's move our progress up. And we're going to move these as parameters into this. So, okay, that takes out here. Pop them as parameters into our thing. So this is a double progress. And then this is a list of color section colors, right? Okay, so now we need to specify those. Okay, and this takes us back to, so the code should still function and work. But what we now takes us back to is this fix me. We need to know if the new and the old stuff is different. We also need to make sure we specify these things when we construct it. I don't want to lose the colors right now, so we're going to put these in first. So progress section colors is going to be this array.
Mm-hmm.
And our progress is going to be, let's put it at 075, make sure that works. It's different from what we see here. And now we're going to go down to our indicator. So this is covariant. This means it expects you to change the type. So it has to have the same base type, but the type to the one that you're trying to match with, which is your own type. So we take our input type name, pop that in there. And now we can compare the two, because old delegate dot progress does not equal this dot progress, right? Or sorry, this dot progress. If it does not equal, then we should repaint, right? And the same goes for or list equals.
We didn't need this because that's implied with all locals that don't have other scope, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't say that yet.
No,
This is the fix me came up. And I was like, yeah, of course.
Yeah, right.
So if the two lists are not equal, so we have different colors, then we need to repaint. And that's it. There are two input parameters right now. We could also parameterize the indicator color, right? And let's also make this simplify this.
List equals comes from some library collection or something.
We shouldn't need to close this shape actually. Let's get rid of that extra. I think that should put it in there. Section paint. I'm gonna simplify that as well. Sorry if it's making people dizzy. Right. And then background. We're going to remove background in a minute. In fact, do you know what? I'm going to remove it now. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is go up here and around our padding. Well, there's our piece of material. And in fact, if we move out, wrap our let's leave the padding there, center, and wrap this with a padding. And we'll have on a 16. And I'm going to wrap that with a box, decorated box. Just going to show how you can kind of compose these things together, right? Like, you don't have to do everything in your paint.
You could just use a colored box too, right?
Oh yeah, I could use a color box. Anyway, there you go. The color box on now. Involve me.
Colored box colors, and then whatever the color is. Yeah,
same difference.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting there. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this. What we're going to do is take out this piece, which is the color box and everything inside. And we're going to call this, make a widget, status widget, and call it Pi Progress Indicator. Pop those in there. And then final double progress.
Double progress.
Double the goodness.
Yes.
Triple the effort. Right. And then we'll pass that progress over. And I don't know, indicator we'll put up here now, example. Now, here's what's cool. We'll make that paint private because it's related to this. So we can then take that widget and the painter into its own file, and you just have like a widget that you use. Now, if we make our home widget stateful, and we say state with single ticker provide state mixin.
Now we get an animator.
There we go. So now
only half a step behind you.
final animation controller.
Or you could have brought in Flutter animate and just put .animate on the end of the widget, but okay.
I can use a bajillion libraries, but no, thank you.
You're gonna do it from the ground up.
It's not that difficult. Duration. That's what I'm looking for.
I know. I've just got
right.
lazy now.
Should we have like
animate?
I don't know, 1 second. That'll do. And then controller dot. There's a way of
repeat.
There's like a forward. There's like a mirrored forward.
Forward backward. Now? Yeah, there's a forward backward. It's
no, but there's a new. Where have I seen it? Or is it? I may not be using a new version of Flutter at the moment because I was testing some old stuff. Animate back.
Yeah, but there's an automatic forward back state.
Yeah, repeat works. That'll do what I want.
Yeah.
Right. So repeat minimum.
0, maximum 1.
Maximum. Are these optional? Hang on. What?
They default to 0 and 1.
Oh, lower bound. Yeah. Reverse true. And then, yeah. So reverse true and period. Is the period is how much of what? Of the total animation controller value, or is this to replace the value? What? I can't see anything mentioned in period. Hello, documentation. You let me down. He literally doesn't mention period in the documentation. Oh, look, it does. Look, it's not. Ah, look, it's not square bracketed. We have a bug in the documentation, everyone. Each run of the animation will have a duration of period. If period is not provided, duration will be used instead. Okay, that's fine. So there you go. So that's all we want. There you go. So this is going to put the animation controller on repeat, bouncing back and forth. And then what we can do is we can wrap our indicator with an animated builder. And our builder method is going to return the progress indicator. And the progress is going to be the controller's value. At least right now. That this wants the animation, which is control. And then finally we want to dispose of our controller. Be nice citizens.
Nah, you don't need to dispose them. Program goes away.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Restart. Hey, look.
Wow. It's like a windshield wiper.
Interesting? Do you know what's interesting? Yeah, but do you know what's interesting? You see it gets thinner.
Yeah. Because you don't rotate the
yeah, because they don't rotate the points. It's slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down. Yeah, we don't rotate the 2 points on our path. Well, that's funny, isn't it? And we can do that right now. That shouldn't take 2 seconds. and then we'll
Yeah,
call it.
it's
And then we'll
clever,
call
though.
it because we've been going a while. And I'll post
Yep.
this and people can have some fun. If people want to try and solve the lines, then we could post it back next week. Otherwise, we'll just do it next week because we've been going a bit too long on the stream. So
3.5
let's just fix
hours,
this.
yes.
Yeah, let's just fix these two angles, right? So we decided to do these two positions, but what we actually want to do is calculate, like we did here, from direction, calculate the left and right points of the indicator. So this works fine. So annoyingly, line 2 doesn't take an offset. This is what I'm saying about like the positions earlier, right? Like it's super annoying that it's all not really like directly compatible. I get this. This makes sense. You have to make an object to pass it. Well, then there should be a extension or override which takes an offset, right? Like what I really want to do is just go indicate extent, direct dart center plus indicate extent and pass it to line 2 and it's done. Why do I have to break it down, right? Anyway, right. I'm just moaning, right? Move 2. So we want the left position, the right position. So the left position is going to be indicate. It's still the same thing. So we'll say indicator left. So we want 90 degrees off of this, right? So minus math.pi. Yeah, math.pi divided by 2 times 0.5. It feels vaguely correct. And then our distance will do we'll do indicator size for now and see what happens. And then the right hand side would be similarly plus and indicator size, and then indicator left. So it's basically the same thing. We're doing the same plus indicator left plus indicator y. Indicator right. All right, does it work? Hey, look, Ma.
Wow. As if it was planned.
As if we meant to do it by. Now, what's nice
Yes.
is actually there's an interesting thing you can do here, right? Where we could actually also do an arc and not have to calculate one of these values, and then the bottom would be rounded. We can do that. I think we're going to do that just quickly. So if we start at the top. So basically, at the moment, let me stop it moving because that's just like annoying.
Yeah,
right
sure.
now.
Yeah, we haven't gone a full 4 hours yet. You can keep going. Yeah.
Oh, shush you. Right. So okay. So let's start it. Let's do a fixed angle. There you go. Right. So what we want to do is round off the bottom of our indicator, and we could even cut a hole in it. So first of all, rounding off the bottom of the indicator. Right, let's go back down. So here's our indicator. We calculate the 3 points. So indicator left is this point here on the left hand edge of the base. And then our indicator extent is this position here. And our indicator right is this position here. What we can do is at the moment, we draw our path by moving to the left, drawing a line to the extent, and then a line back down to the bottom, and then we let it auto close. So we could just add a arc at the bottom here as the next operation. However, we can also do something nice here. So what we can do is if we start at the extent and go to the right, that's 2 points. Then we do an arc based on an angle that takes us around to here, and then we auto close, which is a smaller operation, right? So what we're going to do is, as I said, we're going to say move to our extent position. Also, actually, I'm going to show you.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that in a second. Hang on. Move to direct center. The extent position. Then we want to line to the right. And now we want to arc to arc to point. Interesting. And we can just put the end in there. All right. Dial right. See, look, this one takes a. How does this one take an offset? All right.
That
Like, if it takes an like this one take like that's so inconsistent.
right. Yeah, exactly. Well, you could make wrappers for line 2 as an extension.
I know, like
of
there should be like
line
a
2.
line to point then or something, right? Like,
Yeah.
it just annoys me.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. And then radius, indicator size.
Wait, isn't there like a relative move to or something? That's,
What is this indicator size?
I'm going to go do the
What does
delta
radius-
math.
Oh, what's it? Radius. There you go.
Because just putting a float there would have been scary. Yes.
Yeah, I know, right? I was thinking as well, like, well,
Let's wrap it with a class to protect people from invalid uses of float.
and then we can take that path, and here's the cool thing, and we do what we did earlier, where we do combined path, right?
Are you
should be
afraid
able
of
to take-
floats?
This is the thing for you.
We can
yeah.
protect you from floats by putting them into a class that only has one property.
So what we're going to do, add oval, and then we want a rectangle from circle. Offset is dial center, and then radius. And this radius, oh no, we can't have it as a radius like that. It has to be double, this one. And then, yeah, we want a proportional of that. So we'll say what, 75?
You just have to
Ooh, too
understand
much.
that the thing is they stole from like 20 different teams to make the painting logic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I understand. I'm not like, just,
It makes sense that it's this chaotic, but it doesn't help us as we're trying to describe this or use it. Yeah, crazy stuff.
I think that looks okay. So we'll take 1/3 of the indicator size and use that as the circle to remove from the bottom. It gets it close to the original. How about a foreground painter? Why do we need a separate foreground painter for the indicator? I mean,
You're
I
already
guess it
painting
means. I guess it means.
last.
I mean, it does mean that you're not having to essentially call the paint method for these shapes of the background. You're not talking about a lot of processing, though.
No, true.
You're adding more complexity for not a lot. I mean, having a foreground painter and background painter means you've got two separate paints. When the progress changes, this one here, then it knows it's only going to have to redraw the indicator, right? Well, great. Then it doesn't have to redraw or recalculate, but it's still going to repaint because every frame has to be repainted, right?
If it was something complex in the background, like maybe an image that had to be decoded from some encoding,
yeah,
that might be worth it. Yeah.
So I'm gonna show you a little trick here, as well. So we're gonna do shift. See the shift? We're gonna put direct center in there, and now we're gonna make this offset 0. We're gonna remove indirect center from here, here.
Interesting.
He says.
Fascinating.
Batman, you meet again.
All right, I started doing the Spock fascinating, but okay, I guess it didn't come up.
I thought you were doing Bane.
No.
Right. So now that should look exactly the same, but what we've just done is we've shifted everything by a direct center, which kind of just enables us to not have to, I don't know, deal with crap. Right. So indicator right, indicator left, extent, sure, centers.
Wax on, wax off.
Yeah. Direct. Yeah, see, that's not relative to 0, so we could do it still, but yeah, it's not worth it. Right. So now we've done all that. now we've done all this. What do we actually we can animate it? Let's put the animation back on. See how it looks. Cool.
I like where's this comment here? You could wiggle it as it animates.
No.
But it's from Christian. Come on. If Christian wants to see it, he can download it himself and do it in his own Dart pad. Actually, this will all run in Dart pad 1. It's basically nothing unusual here.
What to so add a phase change to the progress, so it wiggles 100 times per 180-degree rotation.
It's just to add a ripple.
I know, yeah, like a ripple, yeah. So you could do it here, right? So you can say plus. No, actually, yeah. Hang a minute, plus.
It's right there.
Yeah, but with that, let's just do it. Yeah, I didn't think so, because you're just adding a constant, right? This needs to be based on progress, right?
Yep.
Unless you're multiplying it. Wait, no, that still wouldn't work, wouldn't it?
It's the progress is inside the sign. It's not outside the sign. It's inside the sign.
I'll do what? Oh, one.
Because it'll wiggle the angle as progress happens.
What?
Yeah. Maybe.
No.
It has to be multiplied. Multiply the math sign by something. Goes all the way to 11.
My brain is mushed right now. Yeah. I can't be messed with
all the way to 11. Yes, that's the problem.
It's for the reader.
Yes.
Someone mentioned text. Is it easy to add text? So there is a thing called Text Painter, and Text Painter will do what you think. It will paint text. So
on a curve.
For example,
not on a curve though. You have to actually do each square of a letter, right? Do curve.
You can paint text on a curve. I have done so.
Mm-hmm.
But what you actually need to do is you count your
little boxes, right?
You can actually put character as well. So like the original one down the bottom. But what you're actually doing is you're taking see this edge of the circle. From a path, you can get what's called a path metrics.
Mm-hmm.
So you do path where is it? Path metrics. I don't remember. So if you have a path, let's call it P. You can do P dot met. Is it metric? Compute metrics. That's the one. Force close, whatever. Right. What you're going to get back from this, let's call it metric. I always call it M for the sake of example here. So you do your path and P dot add arc, whatever it is, right? Comment it out there, and then you from your metrics, you can then you can ask for the. This is going to give you This will give you one metric per segment of your path. So we can just do first. And there you go, a tangent for offset for distance. So this will give you the position. There's a position one, isn't there? I think tangent contains it. Hang on, let me just check. Oh, it's been so long. Yeah, position and vector. Yeah. So you get the tangent for an offset or a distance along your path, right? So So it'd be between 0 and 1. This is going to give you a position, and that's where you're going to draw your character. And then you need to advance your distance based on the fractional amount that your text, when you do a text painter, you can also get the metrics for the text. Anyway, you can do all this stuff. You can actually do it. I don't think there's like just like draw text on.
I think there's
you know
a
what?
circle text painter in the pub. Circle.
Yeah, they don't get wrong. There's packages that do this, right? They just do
Yeah.
exactly what I just said, right? Like,
Right.
I'm just wondering if I remember rightly, I don't think that there's. Yeah, so you draw a paragraph at an offset, and that's it, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I think so basically what you've got here. So paragraph is actually what gets used to draw text in Flutter. Paragraph is like the underlying thing that represents text. So there's a bunch of metrics around it. What you do is you can essentially say get boxes for range. I don't find the thing in here. Anyway, you can get the actual metrics for each of the characters that advance. And then you can based on that information, somewhere in here you can then draw each character, right? So basically it's not very efficient, but you can do it. You can also do something where you get the glyph of each character into a path, and then you paint the whole thing. That's another option.
Right. Yeah.
There's a couple of different ways of doing it. You still need to do quite a bit of like text calculation, because you're basically positioning each character on a curve, which means you're painting each character individually. You could just get the center point, in this case, of each of the segments and draw straight text, right? And then therefore that's one draw paragraph call per segment. So it's only 4 for the entire thing, rather than 1 per character.
Yep.
Anyway, we're not doing it now. Screw that.
Gist.new.
Yeah, exactly. Exactamundo. Let's copy this.
Oh, and for a Google Meetup, it's meet.new, and it drops you right into an instant meeting. That's kind of cool.
Where did you find that?
I found something popped up, and it mentioned just.new, and then I went to something else.new, and it was Google. And so Google talked about all the other things they do, like sheets.new, meet.new, pretty much all of their products.new create a new item just instantly for you. So that's pretty cool.
So this is what we call this pi section indicator. What was it called? I can't remember.
Oh,
pi progress indicator.
Yep.
Pi progress indicator. Humpday Q
2024-09-25. God, I can't believe it's 2024.
Where does time go, eh?
Where does it come from? I think it's just the opposite answer.
Whatever. Yeah.
I think they're related somehow.
There we go. Right. For those that want the...
Yeah. Now I'm going to be contemplating existence the rest of the day. Darn it. Let's see. Why do I exist? What's the whole point? So
the lovely code for the example that we've just done is there on that gist. You should be able to just check it out and run it, and it should just run.
Now I want to know everything that's registered in the .new domain, so I can figure out what I can make new things of. There's no way to list that, I don't think.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Mm.
I mean, no.
No, yeah. No. There's no way to list a TLD. Yeah, it just doesn't. There's nothing unless the TLD operator is providing search tables for it.
Yeah. Okay then. Well, hopefully, people found it interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have this like kind of like I like the idea that dial maybe experimenting with the straight line problem, right, of separation. And then the other dials that we saw where they had the number in the center, maybe we could have like it expand, like animate, expand out, and then show the number or something fancy like that. That'd be a little cool animation to do as well.
That would be cool. Flutter.new creates a new Dart pad. That'd be fun if they could get that to happen.
Dart.new.
Dartpad.new.
Dartpad.new.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's what happens. You go to dartpad.dev. Oh.
I know. That's about the same thing, right? So one
right.
half a dozen another. All right.
Well, thank you very much for everyone for joining us. So, hopefully, you enjoyed the live coding and live stream, and we'll
see you in 164 hours.
Same time, same place next week.
Yes.
Happy evening.
Indeed.
Bye for now.
Bye.